Good evening. I call to order this regular meeting of the Verona Township Council for Monday, October 6th, 2025. Madam Clerk, would you please read the Open Public Meetings Act compliance statement?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied with respect to this meeting of the Township Council. The meeting time and date were introduced in the public meeting notice along with the public internet link and telephone call-in information. Said notice and the meeting agenda was posted in the municipal building and sent to the official newspapers of the township, the Verona Cedar Grove Times, and the Star Ledger, at least 48 hours preceding the start time of this meeting. The agenda and public handouts can be viewed online at www.veronanj.org/council meetings. A public comment period will be held in the order it is listed on the meeting agenda, and instructions on how to comment will be provided at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Madam Acting Clerk. Would you please call the
Councilwoman Holland?
Here.
Councilwoman McGrath?
Here.
Councilman Roman?
Here.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Present.
Mayor Tamboro?
Here.
Mayor also present this evening is Township Attorney Brian Aloya, Township Manager Kevin O'Sullivan, Deputy Township Manager Michael Kraus, and myself, Assistant to the Municipal Clerk Jessica Rodriguez.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to just read something before we do our flag salute because I'll be asking for a moment of silence. Verona feels the devastating loss of Daria Gibia, a young woman who has had a profound impact on the hearts, minds, and spirits of our community members. Daria's unmatched strength and resilience inspired us. Residents of all ages banded together to show Daria, her family, and all those who were suffering, the entire town, that in Verona, nobody fights alone. It was Daria's remarkable positivity and bravery in the face of a battle against a ruthless force that truly united the community in spirit. This extraordinary young woman's legacy will continue to live on in our hearts and minds as we reflect on the great lessons that she so generously shared with us and the gift that was her life. I offer my deepest condolences to Daria's family, friends, neighbors, teachers, and all those who were fortunate enough to experience her radiance and joy. Verona stands with you as we do with Daria. Do not mourn alone. In following Pledge of Allegiance, I would ask for a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, for the mayor's report this evening, we are noting the Knights of Columbus presentation is moved to the October 20th. So a few items. I'm sorry, it's a long list because it's been a month since our last meeting. Thank you to everybody who participated in our September 11th return ceremony. It was great to see the 8th grade classes there, as well as representatives from our school district, our board president, our superintendent, as well as Pete Muller, who was a firefighter in Ladder 6 in Manhattan. Just great to see everybody present. Thank you to Deputy Mayor McAvoy for participating in the presentation and sharing his reflection as well. I greatly appreciate it. I had the opportunity to participate in our strategic plan meeting for the Verona Public Library. It was a really great meeting that the elected officials and various other stakeholders were able to share their insights on what the future of the library should look like. And I think it's a very valuable meeting. It was a pleasure to see some of my council colleagues there as well. And I thought it was very productive in the feedback we were able to provide. At the opportunity to attend the Junior Women's Club Taste of Verona, and Verona has an excellent taste to it. There's some amazing restaurants there. Well, we're joined by Congresswoman Monica McIver, who's great to see there as well. So thank you to the Junior Women's Club for a very successful event, for bringing our restaurants together, supporting local business, and for all that you do with your proceeds to support the community. It was wonderful to see our Verona High School students dressed in pink last night, Friday night at our football game. I know a lot of the other sports are doing this as well. See our football players, our cheerleaders, our band, our student section, all showing support for breast cancer awareness. It was just lovely. Tonight we had our flag raising for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We were joined by Vanessa Angels and James Fourth Group, who are Verona-based organizations who continue to support the patients going through breast cancer. So I urge you to take a look at our flag raising video beforehand to learn more about those organizations and to support them. I had the opportunity to attend the 60th anniversary of Claridge House 1. It's hard to believe that the Claridge is 60 years old. It was a lovely and energetic event. We were able to present a certificate on behalf of the Township to honor Claridge 1. All the residents I spoke to just really loved Verona and adored living here. The buildings there are unusual for this type of area, and they get the benefit of the high-rise structure while having the small town feel. And it's just so wonderful to meet so many residents and talk to them about the next 60 years. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Isabella Lambert, who was named one of the 161 U.S. presidential scholars in the United States. Belle graduated Verona High School last year. I had the pleasure of teaching her. She is 1,000% deserving of this honor. And it was, so we will recognize her when she is home from college at Duke University. And we look forward to seeing her then. I'd like to thank all of our residents who provided feedback on the Verona Community Pool. It was great to have a lot of very thoughtful conversations with a lot of residents with great ideas, and even some former residents with great ideas. So I appreciate your support. It was great to have some long, meaningful conversations. I had the opportunity to attend the celebration of pets in the Civic Center that was put on by the Episcopal Church of the Holy Spirit. They connected a lot of groups to one another, and my dog Radar was blessed by Father Jerry. So it was a very special moment. As my mother said in the picture, it looked like the happiest he'd ever been. So thank you to Father Jerry for always brightening his spirits. The Verona Environmental Commission met this month. Their newsletter is out and it has been distributed by Township email. If you have not had a chance to read it, please do. It is always chock full of great information. I would also like to recognize the DEC for attending the press conference regarding the proposed Highlands development in West Orange. The DEC had passed a resolution opposing development and was there on hand. Chairwoman Jessica Pearson spoke at the event as well, which was widely covered. So it's great to see. Love is in the air in September. It's been a busy month of weddings here at Verona Town Hall. So congratulations to all of those couples. And finally, please do not forget, Verona Family Night is this Wednesday. So please spend some time, go out, get some great deals at our local restaurants, and spend that really precious time together. At this point, I would like to invite the Junior Women's Club to come forth and speak about Verona Fights Hunger Week. Manya and friends. It sounds like a great start of a sitcom.
And the sitcom it would be.
You're a good writer, you do it well.
So I want to introduce the co-chairs, the very capable co-chairs that helped me organize Verona Fights Hunger this year, Sally El Sharafa and Nina James. Of course, my always co-chair, Rose Pashman, is always here to help me organize as well. But I will be handing off Verona Fights Hunger to Nina and Sally next year to run on their own. This is my third year organizing Verona Fights Hunger, and it has been an extremely rewarding experience. And this moment here has always been very rewarding as well. So I really want to thank you for all of the support that you give the townwide food drive, be it giving us space in the center of town. It really spotlights the generosity of the community and shows off the priorities of this community. And then just the affirmation here. It really does affirm and lift us up as we do this work. So thank you so much. True story, my son asked me recently what the most rewarding thing is that I have ever done, what I'm most proud of. And as a journalist, I have this nasty habit of immediately my mind turns to the last interview I landed or the breaking story. And before I had a chance to respond, thank God, my son said, "Would it be Verona fights hunger?" And I kind of took me back and I said, "My George, yes, it would be." Actually, that is one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And it just really, really touched me that that was the first thing that he thought of. He loves going out to the local supermarkets to do the shop and drops. You should have seen him work in the crowd at Fresh Grocer yesterday. And you should have seen all our ladies work in the crowd at Fresh Grocer and King's yesterday. We raised more than $1,000 over the weekend. And so it really is a testament to the generosity of this community. And we are really so incredibly grateful. So I encourage everyone here, if you have not donated to Verona Fights Hunger, be it money, be it food, everybody watching, please do so because it is just as rewarding to give that donation and know that you are feeding people who cannot put food on their tables. And is an alarming number of people who can say that. So please do what you can to help. And thank you again. Really, really do appreciate it. This would not have been possible if I had not moved to this town 7 years ago and joined the juniors. So really from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very much. And thank you to Nina and Sally for stepping up and taking over next year.
Thank you. And where would people find information?
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's a wonderful question. So you can go to veronajuniors.org/hunger. You'll find everything you need to know about Verona Fights Hunger, be it how you can help, how you can volunteer, how you can donate. You can buy from the Amazon wish list. You can, the schools, if you have a student in Verona schools, they'll be bringing home a shopping bag next week, next week they'll be bringing home an empty shopping bag with how to help flyers, and hopefully they'll all bring them back full of groceries, fresh groceries that we can then donate to two local food pantries, the Human Needs Pantry in Montclair and the Holy Spirit Food Pantry in Verona. A lot of the shop and drop donations go to Holy Spirit, and a lot of the donations that come in through the week go to Human Needs. We gather here in Town Square on October the 18th, which I hope to see everybody there. It's a really festive event. Moving van drives up, donated by Casella and Sons Moving Company. They open up the truck, and we line up all the groceries along the perimeter of Town Square, and then everybody pitches in and loads up the truck, and we haul it to all of it to Human Needs. And so it's a really exciting experience, and it's a great visual to see the generosity of the community. So.
Thank you, Monia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally and Nina and Rose, of course, for being here. And we have a proclamation that I would like to read, and we'll come down. Whereas the Junior Women's Club of Verona Incorporated is a versatile organization that has been involved in social and charitable work in the community since its inception in 1926. And whereas the Verona Junior Women's Club continues to be a group of dedicated women who attempt to reach all people in the community by doing their best to bring to life the Junior Women's Club motto of joy and service, pride and achievement. And whereas the number of suburban residents living in or at risk of poverty and hunger has risen dramatically in recent years, whereas a 2020 study of financial hardship issued by the United Way found that New Jersey's 3.3 million plus households, 10% live below the federal poverty line, and 37% are in less than basic cost of living in our state. And whereas the same report shows that in Verona, 21% of the population earns less than the basic cost of living for our state, and 4.5% of our residents live below the federal poverty line. Whereas last year, over 25 local businesses, civic groups, charities, religious organizations, each school in the township participated in this food drive. And whereas the success of the project over the past 11 years has accrued nearly 24,000 bags of non-perishable food items, more than $52,000 of monetary donations for two food pantries that serve Verona and surrounding communities. And whereas the juniors have already delivered scores of bags of fresh food to the Holy Spirit Pantry in Verona. And whereas on October 18th, 2025, the juniors will arrange for Casella and Sons Moving Service, bringing nearly 1,000 more bags of collected food to the Human Needs Food Pantry of Montclair, and the Township of Verona will be offering no assistance to this worthwhile cause. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Christopher Tamboro, Mayor of the Township of Verona, hereby recognize the Verona Junior Women's Club of Verona and the Verona Fights Hunger Week Committee in appreciation for their dedication to assisting those in need. The witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the official seal of the Township of Verona and the County of Essex, New Jersey, to be affixed on this 6th day of October in the year 2020. And we'll, before I do that, does any anybody else on the council have anything to add? I would like to recognize Councilman McGrath, who was the chair of this committee a few years ago. So.
Yeah, well, it feels like a long time ago, actually. It feels like a lifetime ago. I just want to thank the Junior Women's Club of Verona for continuing this very worthwhile effort. After a friend of mine we were both in the juniors, we started Verona Fights Hunger Week. We passed it off to two women who passed it off to two women. And I love to see that tradition continuing. And thank you, Manya, for shepherding it for so many years. I was on the board for the Human Needs Food Pantry for 7 years. I recently resigned, but I had a big visit with them, and the need really is great. And so, the numbers have skyrocketed from the pandemic on, and budgets are tight, and the cost of food that the pantry needs to buy has gone up substantially, and donors are pulling back. So I think the generosity of Verona residents will come through over the next week, and we really appreciate your efforts. And I'm sure Holy Spirit feels the same, that the food is very much needed, and by residents of our communities and surrounding communities. So thank you so much.
I think we can see who it may get passed off to in 10 or 15 shoulders. But every year I look forward to seeing that unveiling of the number, and I think every year since it started, that number's gone up. Money, financially, and number of food bags donated. So thank you for all you do. It's a wonderful thing. It's a great day for us.
Councilman?
Would just also like to recognize this organization and event. This is one of these things that makes Verona really special, and kind of the feeling of being in there in the Civic Center and everybody helping to load the truck. And then, yes, hearing the number is just very exciting. One of the things about the need for this service, we hear from the organizations that distribute food aid in our community and otherwise help provide social services. And I refer to it as kind of a quiet need that you don't very, no one broadcasts, no one advertises it. But there are a lot of people in our community right here in Verona that suffer from food insecurity. It absolutely happens. We hear from these organizations that every year that they have more and more people that they're attempting to serve. Everybody knows what's happened with the cost of food and the cost of living. So this is a very necessary endeavor to make sure that people don't go hungry. So I am very appreciative of the organizers being able to step up and support this wonderful program and everybody. So thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing this happen again.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Thank you. I just want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I know this is a tremendous amount of work, and it's a huge undertaking, and it's really just a compliment to your organization that it's so successful year after year. I want to thank you for bringing your daughter. I think it's incredibly important for young women to see what older women, or just maybe more mature moms are doing. But I think it's important for you to see what you can be out there doing as well. So I'm glad that you're here, and you get to hear all of these compliments for your mom. So that's kind of a big deal as well. I do just want to echo some of the statements of my colleagues about food insecurity and the tremendous importance of this program. And one of the things I also wanted to reference is, as you said, some of the contributions actually go to the Holy Spirit Food Pantry. They have this incredibly powerful display in front of the church right now, with puzzle pieces and discussing really the need and the food insecurity issue right now. So I want to also encourage residents, if you have interest, to take a look at that. I think it's great that you're supporting both our food pantry here in Verona as well as the Human Needs Food Pantry, and I look forward to this every year. And I love seeing the Girl Scouts out there. I love seeing everyone helping out. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you. Let's get a nice photo of everybody. Take off.
Maybe we're just older girls.
It's front and center of the picture.
I think so.
Yeah.
Don't have to be an adult unless you want.
You guys got one hand over here. I got one.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Good.
you.
I really appreciate it.
We never see you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Everybody on October 18th in town.
Yes.
Right. Okay, at this point, I'll turn it over to Mr. O'Sullivan, our township manager, for his report. Mr. O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we have a few presentations on the agenda for tonight, so I will try to be brief. We have the Bloomfield Health Department here tonight to speak regarding the beauty salons and massage parlors recommendation for licensure. We have a presentation on pool recommendations, and then also a presentation on the redevelopment plan for 383 Bloomfield Avenue, which was an addendum to the agenda. That said, I'll move through my report as quickly as I can, and I'll be happy to answer any questions before moving into presentations. With the wastewater plant, all materials have been delivered for the primary clarifier pump station project. Construction's underway, so we should have that facility back up and running within approximately 75 to 90 days. The Fairview Avenue well project has kicked off. It's a lot of paperwork early on. We will have a construction schedule within the next several weeks. We'll be communicating that to all the neighborhoods and the local impacted neighborhood. We've had our pre-construction meeting for the Peckman River Bank Stabilization Project. It was held September 24th. There are some materials which have longer lead times. It's typically 8 to 12 weeks for some of the construction materials, so the construction is expected to start sometime this winter. It will largely be dependent upon warm enough weather and dry enough weather, but we will be starting that project as soon as the weather allows us and materials are on site. The Linden Avenue project is currently out to bid. We'll be receiving bids on the 15th, and we anticipate an award contract at the October 20th meeting. The Everett Field project remains under construction. Retaining walls installation continues. Site grading and landscaping behind those walls will begin shortly. And then the contractor will be moving into utility work, but that project is moving along quickly and on schedule. Regarding shade trees, the community forestry management plan and tree inventory is ongoing. The township did receive a grant to offset the cost of that effort, but that project is ongoing. It will be completed by the end of the year. The community energy plan is ongoing. We had a community energy plan kickoff meeting with the Verona Green Team by Zoom on October 2nd. We are looking to have some rough drafts of the plan by the January-February timeframe. The AVA upgrades and improvements to the council chambers are expected the week of November 12th. That should allow us to have the new equipment installed and ready for our December 1st council meeting. Regarding Verona's affordable housing efforts, the township received notice that a settlement conference was scheduled by the courts for October 21st. We will be meeting with the courts, with affordable housing professionals and interveners to discuss the current status of the township's affordable housing plan. With the Bloomfield Avenue Streetscape project, we are ongoing with our stakeholder meetings. We had an overall kickoff meeting on September 12th with the chairs or representative designees for all the stakeholder commissions and committees. Individual kickoff meetings with specific committee discussions began actually earlier this afternoon and will be ongoing for the next several weeks. We went out to bid for a number of roof improvements. That is roof repairs for the community center, the annex, the communication building, and DPW garage. We received 13 bids on Friday. The bids were within budget. They're currently under review by the architect, and we anticipate an award recommendation for the October 20th meeting. Regarding the emergency services building, administration is still working with professionals to put together responses to the open requests. We will we will circulate and begin distribution of those materials as soon as they are available. We are still ongoing with efforts to get answers to all those open questions. Regarding open space, the township actually just earlier today confirmed that we received a $1.9 million Green Acres reimbursement for the previous 3 years worth of awards. That was a $700,000, $700,000, and $500,000 grant award for offsetting costs of Mount Prospect purchase. That was received by the township earlier today. And then there is still a pending $1 million award, which will be subject to reimbursement in the coming months. Again, those are for both the Mount Prospect and the Commerce Court properties. And then we are ongoing with both our age-friendly audit and action plan and our inclusive healthy communities assessment and action plan. The next meeting for our age-friendly audit is October 29th, and our kickoff meeting with our stakeholders for the inclusive healthy communities efforts is October 17th. I will pause there. I'm happy to answer any questions from the council.
Thank you. So, just going back to the affordable housing challenges, because I don't know if our last meeting we just detailed it for the public. Can you just, for our township attorney, Mr. Wood, can you just give a brief summary to the public on what's happening with affordable housing plans and the challenges that apply?
Sure. The township adopted a housing element fair share plan. The state the statutes allowed for a period of time by which interveners could file objections to our plan. There were 4 objections which were filed. There were 4 interveners which filed objections, and at this point we were waiting for a court hearing or a court date to have a settlement hearing with the assigned judge and the special adjudicator, and that is the current stage that we're in. We're waiting to meet with the judge, adjudicator, and all parties on October 23rd, I believe.
Okay, great. And then those challenge documents, are they available on the affordable housing section of the website just for transparency so that residents can review them?
I have to double check if they're on the website yet. If they're not, we can get them on the website.
All right, that's great. Thanks.
Mr. Sullivan, just one question on the streetscape project. I know we had so just give a timeline of when, what's going to happen in the next few months. When is this going to come to the council for feedback?
For the engineer that is designing the streetscape project is currently receiving input from all the stakeholder committees and commissions. They will be holding those individualized meetings over the next, I think they're scheduled over the next 2 to 3 weeks. At that point, they will then provide a similar process for both township departments. So we'll have discussions with Public Works, Buildings and Grounds, Police Department, etc. They'll also receive input from the general public as well. So we won't see an actual concept plan or general design until sometime later next year, probably in the spring at the earliest, to allow them time to adequately get the public input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Sullivan, in section 6 here, your recreation, in B, you're referring to trees. Is this pertaining to Everfield?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, just wanted to just... Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Sure. Thank you again, Mayor. So the next item, if we can move through the presentations, we can bring up the mental health department first. They were originally scheduled over the summer. We had to reschedule them to discuss the beauty salons and massage parlor portions of the ordinance. We have Maya and Sagar here to present and discuss and answer questions.
Maya Harlow, Health Officer, Health Department.
Sagar Patel, Chief REHS, Bloomfield.
First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor and Council. I was actually hospitalized with a kidney infection the last time I was here, so I apologize and thank you so much. After hearing the mayor speak and also the residents, speaking how much Verona residents love Verona, I'm glad to be having this conversation and this discussion as well. The discussion is to ensure that beauty barber shops, nail salons, massage parlors, and hairstyling salons are licensed. This means that the purpose of this chapter is to protect, preserve the safety and the welfare of our citizens here in Verona. Most of us have either been to a hair salon, a barber shop, or a nail salon. When we walk in, we do believe that that facility is up to par, inspected, and someone is held accountable. Well, sometimes it's not the case. The licenses for these establishments come from the state of New Jersey. The state of New Jersey issues this license, but does not guarantee a yearly or even a few yearly inspections. With this ordinance, we would provide our residents safety, health safety, public health safety, with assuring that these establishments get inspected. They are up to code, sanitary code, also aligned with New Jersey sanitary code for cosmetology as well. It also ensures that the individuals that are working at these establishments are properly licensed and they know how to also protect from bloodborne pathogens and also to deter individuals from incurring any type of dangerous infections. Doctor, definitely want to make sure that there is something that we can do as a council, as a public health department, to ensure that every single resident, when they walk into our facilities here in Verona, they are 100% safe. And also, if there is a complaint, we do have the jurisdiction to go into these establishments. We have the ability to inspect them, and we also have the ability to take them to court or even shut them down if they're not properly doing what they're supposed to be doing. This ordinance allows for enforcement to be part of the ordinance. It allows our inspectors to license them. The licensing fees are extraordinarily minimal for them, and it ensures that it's not about the fiscal component of the ordinance. It is about the safety of our residents here in Verona. I also want to know that that a new establishment cannot open up without getting licensed. So we are not going to be surprised by some nail salon that opened up that we do not know about. So we want to make sure that this ordinance reflects the care that we have in public health and the care that we have for the Verona residents that live and walk into any establishments, and also whether it's taking their elderly mother, their child, how I take my daughter to go ahead and get her nails done. I want to make sure that that establishment is safe and acceptable for all. Any questions?
Yes, thank you so much for giving us that background. So, in the fees that you proposed, $25 for barbershops, hairstyling, nail salons, but $250 for massaging body work. So that's a huge difference. Can you go into how these fees were developed, other towns that have them, but also the big difference between those two different classes of businesses?
Absolutely. So when you are a massage therapist, you are trained, you must go ahead and also to recertify every year. Those fees are sometimes at a larger rate due to some establishments not following rules and regulations of what's appropriate and what can be done in a massage parlor and what cannot be done, whether it's illegal or perhaps some illegal things that might happen in those massage parlors. Those things, in order to avoid new therapists coming in without being licensed, without therapists who are in the establishment, that the more therapists you have, the more expensive it is. So you want to ensure that those facilities are licensed based on the number of licensed therapists that perform massages versus other activities.
Okay, but they are getting a license from the state, and so
They
this
have
is
to.
additional?
Yeah, so this is us going in to inspect to ensure that they actually do have those licenses. Those licenses are yearly licenses that must be renewed.
Mm-hmm. We've already had some informal feedback from some small business owners, so we may have some follow-up questions, because it seems like the license of massage therapists, though, now is applying very broadly, not with what we would traditionally think of a back massage, but anyone who touches anyone. Can you in some sort of more wellness capacities, can you talk about some new how this actually works in real implementation?
So when a massage establishment opens up, they give us the number of therapists that they do have within their establishment. If they want to add another therapist, that therapist is going to cost $150. So if they have 4 therapists and we walk in there and all of a sudden we see that even though they are, walk in and there's 5 therapists, we don't have a license for that therapist. We don't know if that therapist is actually practicing there. And it also deters non-licensed individuals to be working. It allows us to really monitor the amount of people that are performing the services.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to make a general on these draft ordinances, they're great, except there's almost no implementation time should we adopt them. And I would imagine we would need some sort of implementation time to get everyone, like every barber shop and nail salon in Verona. So the way they were written, it's like they're effective immediately. Everyone must be certified. And in reality, that's not going. We need some like 90 days or 180 days to get everyone on board.
I also think there should be a strong educational component before we go in, and especially for the first year. I know that we've had conversations with the inspectors to make sure that when we go in, we start to educate the individuals that are working in these establishments, because some of them actually may not know. Sometimes the owner themselves does not have a cosmetology license and doesn't even know the regulations or codes. So our goal in the first year of implementation is to ensure that there is an educational piece attached to this as well.
That's great. Councilman.
I would share the councilwoman's concerns regarding the fee structure for massage establishments. We review our fees a lot here, and I've always kind of pressed for our fees to be reasonable and reflective of our actual cost in providing the regulation and inspection of the service. I'm not seeing a substantial difference in what it would take to review and oversee a massage establishment versus a barber shop. Figure a barber shop that might have half a dozen people working there, including people rotating in and out of chairs on depending on different days and so on, versus a massage establishment that is basically doing the same things. If all the individuals are subject to state licensing, I feel like we should be treating all of these businesses, equally. So I'm not, I don't object to the plan, but I do think I'd like to see some consistency in the fee ordinance. I don't want it to be, our fees should not be punitive, should not, be a way of pushing back on legitimate businesses. We've had kind of hard enough times trying to keep businesses in operation here. And I don't really want to, fine and fee everybody out of business. So those numbers kind of do surprise me a little bit. The other thing I did want to ask about, and this is, hopefully just to reassure our business community, can you talk a little bit about essentially the violation remediation and your process? Let's assume that you go into a hair salon and you find items of non-compliance. Obviously, there are things that are emergencies that are a serious threat to public health, but ordinary compliance items. Can you walk us through sort of the resolution of things like that?
Sure, absolutely. So, just like an establishment, when we're walking in to do an inspection, we do have a checklist that we use. It's from the state. If for whatever reason that establishment does not fall within the parameters of sanitary precautions that they should be doing, they would at that point probably receive a conditional rating. They would not be closed. There is no reinspection fee in this, so they would just have a posting on their window of a conditional versus a satisfactory posting. We would then give them a week or 2 weeks to go ahead and fix those violations. We would then go back and reinspect them and then change their status from conditional to satisfactory.
Okay. This fee chart does actually show a reinspection fee for both classes of business equal to the annual license fee for the facility.
My apologies, Councilman. What is the fee? What is that fee?
The reinspection fee is an amount equal to the annual license fee for the facility.
Okay, so then there is a reinspection fee for them to do so. It would be $25 or $10 for them to get reinspected.
Okay, but then again, for the massage, if we were to go with this fee structure for a massage or bodywork
Understood.
facility, if they have, and this is for any violation found?
I think there has to be, I'm gonna actually refer to Sagar for oversees our inspectors, but I think there is certain violations that are criteria where those violations would cause an individual to either get some sort of infection or they're not practicing proper protocols of sanitizing equipment. But I can have him add to that as well.
If you would please just give us a little bit of a summary of classes of violations and what the regulatory response to them are.
Yes, of course. So when we're doing inspections, there's different violations that could occur. It could be a simple thing where they don't have their licenses on them. Maybe they left it at home. So that would not constitute a conditional. You know, if they're able to give me a copy of it, we'll work with them and say, okay, this is valid. We can even look it up online because they have a registry online. But if there's more substantial where they're not sanitizing, let's say in the event of a barbershop, their clippers or their combs, they're not using the barber side. That's more of a concern because you're potentially spreading, diseases with shared combs, or if they're not changing the razor blades, that's something that's more severe. In an instance of a cosmetology, if they're not properly sanitizing the equipment, such as the tables that they use for different activities. We make sure that they change it, we sanitize it, and those would be a more serious violation versus paperwork.
And I'm just gonna comment, like for example, nail salons who don't sanitize their equipment when they're doing their clippers. Also, in some nail salons, when women go ahead and get waxes, they're not supposed to be leaving the sticks inside because there's lots of blood that can actually be attached. So when we go in and do those inspections, you'll see some of the times that media actually has the stick in there. So we don't know how many people have used it. They're not sanitizing the tables. Like Sagar said, they're supposed to have liners on those tables. They're using the same tweezers, for example. They're not being sanitized. There has to be a protocol for them to sanitize. They can't be using them on the same individual. The other thing is, for example, pedicures, right? We know for a fact that there's filters. A lot of the time, we need to make sure that those filters are cleaned. They need to be sanitized at the end of the day. Sometimes these chairs also are not up to code because you can't go ahead and clean them. We're also wanting to see what type of sanitizer they're using when they're cleaning the actual either the pedicure stations or the stations that they're using. So there's a lot of things that we look at, I think, from not the individual licensing perspective. I think there's so many individual sanitary things that are much more important in that case.
And then also to add, each practicing barber or cosmetologist, they're licensed from the DCA. Each of those licenses are again available online, and a lot of times what we fall into is that they're not licensed at all. So that would be a big concern. If there's no one on site that has a license, that would be considered a closure. Because every facility needs to be licensed from the state for a shop license, and then each person that's working there should have a license. So a lot of times we'll go there like, oh, this person is just here to do the facilities, clean. But if we see them actively working on a client, then that's a violation and means for a closure if there's no one working there with that license.
And it sounds like there is a good case for this ordinance. Like I said, the only thing is making sure that the fee structure is fair. Then I agree with you on the educational program that we should guide all these businesses basically through, I don't want anyone to panic and say that the town's coming in to close you down. I want them to understand, here's all the requirements, here's what we inspect for, and here's the process if we find an issue. So we can get there. I think this is a good framework. The devil's in the details.
And
Marco.
Go ahead, Monica.
Oh, I was just gonna say, a lot of businesses who do take pride in their work are actually pretty welcoming, and they will actually go ahead and show you how much they clean, how much they. Because in the end of the day, if someone gets sick, we have social media these days, and that's going to be everywhere. So it is in their best interest to actually want these. They want the feedback from us too. A lot of the times.
I think the ordinance is well done. We have no shortage of nail salons or hair establishments in Verona, so it is important. I do agree with the fee piece that my councilman brought up, and that's a simple thing fix just in the numbers. One question is, I'm thinking about this and you're describing all the hard, nasty things that can happen. Have you ever done one of these for pet groomers? Because they have basically the same risks.
So it's funny you say that.
Pet groomers are not licensed. There is no statute, there is no regulation to license pet groomers.
But could we regulate them within the town?
I believe so. There's no reason why council and mayor can't go forward with that. I think we need to do a little research.
Our attorney is grabbing his mic. So, all right, we're lawyering up over
Go
here.
on. Actually, we're hitting on that. We have to do a little research on that to see, because as you know, the municipality can't act unless we're given permission to. And I don't know if that would fall to police powers, so we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, I'd be curious because all the same risks apply, right? All right. Any other questions for our health officers? Is everybody okay introducing this at the next meeting with a reduction in the massage hall?
And with implementation,
With the implementation
timing,
and the
'cause I
education
do think
piece.
that's necessary.
I think we write that in. We should be able to have it on.
I may be okay with introduction, but I do want the business community to have a chance to, read this over now that it was in our packet. And now that we've heard the presentation, thank you, and to raise any questions they may have. So while I would be totally open to introduction, if we get feedback from businesses, we may need to revisit this again and have another conversation. And I do hope the business community, we can get the word out, even through the Chamber of Commerce and through our email list to make sure they understand. Because this is, going to be, for a lot of businesses in town, it's going to be a new process. Let them have a chance to read this and ask them questions before we introduce. Thank you.
I just want to add, I think there's about 34 establishments that we counted.
Sounds
So
right.
we have a list that we would be proactively sending out information to if it does go through and provide them the details that we would look for when we do those inspections prior to doing those inspections.
We appreciate you doing that census. Thank you for your expertise. It helps greatly.
Thank you so much. Have a good night, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. All right, Mr. O'Sullivan, back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. The next presentation that we've been discussing for tonight's meeting is the recommendations for the pool. It's a summary of the 2025 pool season, and it's an early look at recommendations for the 2026 pool season. We've discussed it briefly at some of the prior meetings, and our Deputy Manager, Mike Kraus, and our newly appointed Director of Community Services, Pam Crisco, is here tonight to present the findings of the pool from the 2025 season, a summary of the financials, and a number of recommendations for the 2026 pool season. So we can open up pool registration earlier than we have in prior years, and hit the ground running starting effective January 1st.
Thank you. And before we start, congratulations, Mrs. Crisco, on your new role. We haven't had a council meeting since that was announced, so congratulations and welcome.
Red, for different board of ed, sorry. But thank you though very much. I would like to, before I start with the presentation, I would like to personally thank Mr. O'Sullivan, Mr. Kraus, and you, Mayor and Council, for giving me the honor to be in this role as the Director of Community Services. I have been here for a very long time, as you all know, and Verona has a very, very special place in my heart. And I will do as much as I possibly can for our community and our residents of this township. So with that, I'm going to go into our Verona Community Pool 2026 recommendations. I'm going to start off with our summary. So we're going to talk tonight about our 2025 financial review. We're going to go into membership and fee increases that are recommended for 2026. We're also going to speak about the out-of-town pilot memberships, staff salaries and wages, and some policy changes. Mr. Brown.
So for the 2025 financials, they're still being finalized mainly on the expense side, but revenue exceeded what the township had expected for this year. We saw an increase of approximately $45,000 in membership revenue. That is due to the fee increase. The total number of members had decreased. And miscellaneous revenue was up around $50,000 to $55,000 from 2024. The large chunks that make this up are the $10 fee for family night, which was $48.20. There were $9,800 in sponsorships. There was the preseason concert, fee for the summer playground trips to the pool, and additional pool parties. One thing to note is that guest passes and day passes combined make up the largest chunk of miscellaneous revenue, and they've remained fairly consistent in the $60,000 range over the last 3 years. On the expense side, as of Friday, total expenses are anticipated to be around $940,000. This doesn't account, this number will grow. There are still some outstanding end of year bills. We did assume the full $50,000 for water delivery and $46,000 for PSE&G bills, but those final bills haven't come in yet. There's also purchasing some goods and goods were purchased by individual departments for the pool instead of running it through the pool utility, and those will get moved back. The CFO actually sent an email out today requesting departments inform them of all of those purchases. So when we look at where everything falls right now, with the inclusion of the $200,000 of surplus as revenue, the total revenue for the pool is $1,089,000, and the total expenses are $940,000. Again, we expect that to grow. And in the end, we are thinking that the pool, after backing out surplus, will have a deficit of around $60,000. And then we are recommending a nominal fee increase for membership categories and some other miscellaneous purchases that members make and the licenses.
Thank you very much. So on this chart up here, we priced it out, giving 4 different options. However, we feel 2% increase on memberships for 2026 would be something that would be reasonable and acceptable increases going forward for pool memberships, and those show the rate increases based off of a 1.5, a 2%, 2.5, or a 3% increase. So 2% really stays in line with everything. Going into, we also discussed payment option plan for our residents. So this is just an example of what we would like to see for just an example of a family membership. If we use the 2%, it would be a $710 membership, a 4-month payment plans starting on February 1st of $177.50, and then March 1st, April 1st, and May 1st. And then anything received after the May 1st would be charged a $50 late fee. We feel this would also really be enticing to residents of all types could do the payment plan option. That would help out, and I think would increase our memberships. Going into our 2026, the fees, basically you can see some increases pending what the council decides of the increase, whether it's a 2% or 2.5 or 1.5. We would increase those fees accordingly. Some, as you can see, are not going to change. And if they do not change, then we will look to change them in 2027. If it's not on the list. Going into our out-of-town pilot program. So looking at 2026, we are looking to do a 1-year pilot program, recommending 100 out-of-town memberships at $1,000 per family membership. This fee would increase as the years went on if we continued with this pilot. This would be for family memberships only, and it would be offered on a first come, first time basis for residents that are in the contiguous towns in our area. We'll move on to our 2026 salary and wages. Mr. Ross.
So salary and wages are for all of our hourly staff. They are based off of the seasonal minimum wage that was published by the state of New Jersey. That was released on October 1st or 2nd. Forget the exact date, but it has gone up 70 cents from 14.53 to 15.23 per hour. We have had success in recruiting staff for the pool. We have had good staff in all areas: lifeguards, maintenance, rec temp. The pool managers have spoken highly about a large group of people. There's very few employee issues. The proposed structure would be to follow the same process that has been done in prior years, which is everyone would receive the seasonal minimum wage increase as kind of like a cost of living adjustment, similar to the 2.75% that the OPEIU received. And then for each year that they return as a staff member, they would receive a length of service increase based on the schedule below. So in the first year, they get 25%. So they return this year, it's their second year of employment, they would receive $15.58 per hour, as an example. Some of the staffing changes that were made this year that will continue in 2026 is a reduction of the number of office staff members. At the beginning of this year, there were 5 employees staffing the pool office at all times. We reduced that to 4 employees, except for family night, Friday afternoons, and weekends. That would continue. There were no issues reported with that. It did become a little difficult for the office manager when someone called out or didn't show up for work, as some teenagers do. The maintenance staff, we did not fill the position from 1 to 5 p.m. on Monday through Thursday. The slack there was picked up by the pool manager or one of the office floaters. A proposed change for 2026 is changing the hours of operation and number of staff at Rec Temp. The individual who supervised Rec Temp this year noted that there was not a great deal of attendance in the first half of when Rec Temp was open, especially during the times that the summer playgrounds program was open. Most individuals showed up at the pool around 3 p.m. He also stated that when the Rec Tent closed at 5, the participants of Rec Tent did not leave the pool grounds. They stayed there with their families, and he believes that had the Rec Tent been open until 6, they would have continued their participation, and when most of those families left shortly after 6, that's when he would recommend closing the Rec Temp. He also suggested that instead of having 5 staff members throughout the day, we have 3 staff from 2 to 3:30, which would include 2 regular staff members and himself or another senior or adult or supervisor, and 4 staff from 3:30 to 6 p.m. So it would be 3 regular individuals and 1 supervised position. We would not, and we are not anticipating making any changes to lifeguard staffing. The supervisor stipends for the pool managers and head swim coach generally follow the same practice as prior years. There's a $500 increase when individuals return. The head pool manager, we increased the available range of the stipend up to $20,000 to hopefully hire someone to work on the pool over a greater period of time for the year. Right now, the pool managers work from roughly, they start a little bit before Memorial Day and they go to Labor Day. We feel that there is a need to have someone dedicated to the pool at least from April 1st through the closeout of the pool season, and if not, maybe filling in and picking up some work and review of staff, helping with sponsorships over the slower winter months. Another item with pool managers is we want to provide more detailed additional offers of employment, specifically calling out how many shifts need to be worked, and pre and post season responsibilities. This slide is unchanged from prior years with the exception of adding basic swim instructor at $2 per lesson. There is a Red Cross certification for basic swim instructor. And as you may know, there is the Starfish program at the Verona Community Pool. In reviewing that, we were unable, either the town and Starfish were unable to locate a signed agreement giving them the right to use the pool. And there is no revenue that comes back to the pool through the Starfish program. But the pool absorbs all of the costs for having lifeguards, opening the pool, the hourly cost to run the pool. And anyone who had the basic swim instructor certification would also be assigned to Starfish, which if the pool absorbs Starfish and takes that in turn, which some of the managers believe we can do. For hiring, we know that there will be at least one pool manager vacancy. We are going to advertise that and interview for that position. We anticipate accepting applications from November 1st through December 15th, and then interviewing individuals between December 15th and middle of January, and hopefully get them on board to help with hiring of hourly staff. For policies and changes, I know this has been discussed quite a bit. Rescue squad and firefighter memberships. There is an ordinance in new business tonight that would amend the section of code that grants fire and rescue memberships. The change would direct the CFO to calculate the value of the pool memberships.
It's not an ordinance in business. Oh, it's not.
It was under the managers as E2.
That's my bad. I apologize. The CFO would value the memberships, and this is an example of how the memberships could be valued. In 2025, 43 memberships were taken out across all categories. At a total cost of $28,953. Of the 43 memberships, 10 never checked in at the pool. We would propose deducting that value of $5,981 from the $28,000, leaving a balance of $22,972. And the fire department and rescue squad provide some services and supplies to the pool. They provide training. I believe this year it was conducted on June 25th. They do a skills refresher for first aid, bleeding control, CPR, AED, and confined space awareness. And that is targeted towards the spaces at the pool so that the staff know what they can enter, what they can't enter. And then the rescue squad provides numerous items to the pool. These items are purchased out of the rescue squad's operating budget, and it has not come from money that the town provides the rescue squad. A value of these services and supplies is $5,355 for the training and $5,550 for supplies, for a total of $10,855, leaving a gap that would be funded through the municipal budget by administration of $12,117. As we don't know what the values of everything would be each year, it could change. The administration would seek to budget the $28,000 number and transfer whatever the appropriate value is at the end of the year.
Moving on to our the rec tent. Right now the rec tent is just currently open from Monday from 1 to 5. So we are looking to open that rec tent on the weekends to be rented for a private function, just as the gazebo rentals, and then just use the same rental times and rules that go along with the gazebo for now as a trial and see how that works. Disciplinary action. So we're looking to change some rules. And as you can see, there's different steps here. A verbal warning, a written warning, email to the parent. And this is all for, children under the age of 18, a removal for the day, a call to the adult, unsupervised pool privileges, and then a suspension of the membership after meeting with administration and the community services. So this would just be to enact further disciplinary actions for, problems that we have. Going into our weather closures, currently the recreation department, we monitor the weather daily, and closures are only really required when there is lightning in the area. The pool doesn't close for little rain or lack of sun. Pool managers and the administration and community services will, look at the forecasted weather and continue to the remainder of the day of the weather for closures. On to our volleyball courts. So right now the volleyball courts, as you all know, are sands, and the sand is entering into the pool and causing a lot of issues with the filters and the vacuum, and causing a lot of extra pool maintenance. So we are looking not to eliminate the volleyball court, but to eliminate the sands and put it as a grass volleyball court to eliminate those problems. The survey that came out did show that people did like the volleyball courts. So we're just thinking of just turning that into a grass area. Moving on to table holdings. So this would be put into place, something to say, to respect everyone and not to hold tables with just your bags and then leave the facilities. So, to be respectful and mindful of all the patrons of the pool. Adult swim. There was a pilot that was tested for 15-minute adult swim periods in the 3 and 4 foot sections of the pool. After the pilot was and survey was completed, the responses really were kind of neutral. So we're going to amend the pool hours for 15 minutes for adult swim periods between periods at 2 o'clock and 5 p.m. on Saturdays for the adult swim, for a 15-minute adult swim. And moving on to sponsorships. This is one of the items that I really touched upon when I was interviewing for the position, and I feel that we can really benefit from sponsorships throughout the community, and also outside of the community, vendors and just larger corporations that could have an interest in being a sponsorship. So these were just some ideas that were that came out: gold membership, silver, bronze, and individual, and then also a special event sponsorship that Elise North Draft Park Public Information Officer is also working on. So this is just, to put it out there and hopefully get some really good sponsors to support a beautiful pool. Questions?
I have sort of a couple of questions and comments. First, thank you for your presentation. It certainly helps to have all this as one. Also want to recognize the Front Recreation Committee and their pool subcommittee who have offered their recommendations as well. Just a couple things to hit on. When we were talking about in the finance 2025 financials, which I'm talking about having a $60,000 gap, right? That number is slated to be bigger for next year at this point, right? Presuming our debt services do go up by $63,000, I think, from $299 to I think it's $362. So that's another $62,000, $63,000 we have to account for. And the wage increase is a 4.8% increase, right? So we are talking about if we had a $60,000 gap, and I obviously once we have the final numbers, I think it'll be higher than that, right? So we're probably looking between that, or increased debt service, or increased salary and wages, somewhere between $150,000 to $200,000 for each week. So I think that's important to note. What I really think that we should have, and the pool committee did a really good start at this as a basis, is at our next meeting before we make any financial decisions, have a budget that is prepared, an itemized budget, so we can really look at how all of these things come together. To have that with an actual for this year projected for next year, so we can see this side by side. In an Excel spreadsheet, we can manipulate the numbers, we can see where projected revenue is. All of that stuff is, I think, would be important to have, and to put that out as well. And I know Mr. Shore is preparing a couple of those, so it's a good start. Their recommendations, but it's a good start if we can put the budget actually there. So our financial pictures, we need to think about moving forward, closing more of the gap, right? The other thing we also need to budget for is to regenerate the surplus that we've used for the past several years, and that increases our gap further to $200,000+ because we have to regenerate surplus. Otherwise, we can't use that fund balance to capital improvements and things without bonding money, which is a lot more expensive. So I'd like to see that reflected in here as a budget line as well. How we generate that surplus from the past X number of years, right? So that would be good to see in addition. Couple things. I think a lot of these recommendations are well taken. Just a couple notes that I've gotten. Allowing out-of-town members in, I think at this point has become necessary in order to close this gap, because be a couple $100,000 next year. One of the big comments I've gotten from community members is, number one, we want to cap at 100 memberships, right? I would like to see a way based on community feedback to give priority on memberships to people who have a relationship with a current pool member. For a couple of reasons, right? The first being is that we know they'll take care of the facility, and if they have an interest, a lot of these members also have been guests in the past. They know a lot about that. But in order to kind of allow families to get together, which is significant, right? So I think that's important to note as well. And I don't think we're excluding anybody, but there should be a priority registration. And then if we don't have 100 memberships by then, let anybody out. One comment in the presentation as well on that, and I just have to go, is having so I'd like to change the first come, first serve to have basically put everybody on a waiting list. I think another part is that if we get a lot more members within Verona and a lot more sponsorships, we could actually reduce the number of out-of-town members we allow. And we need to be a little dynamic in adjusting that. So if we have enough revenue to cover, we need 50 out-of-town members because we haven't increased our own membership, which I think is part of a marketing plan. Get into a second. That could be significant. I want to be careful with the word contiguous towns. we have some non-contiguous towns that would be in our marketable area that do not have pools. So Roseland does not have a community pool. Caldwell does not have a community pool. So they're non-contiguous, but they're pretty close by. Because I feel like if we just market to contiguous towns, they have community pools. Ours is nicer. We have the best pool facility anywhere. But are people going to be willing to pay a premium for that? So they may, if they have family, friends, and Verona. But we should really start hit on those communities as well and really directly market and aggressively market to the Caldwell and Roseland specifically. Because they don't have just they just don't have a facility and we build it up, right? So we're going to be competing for out-of-town members with all these other towns already allow this. So we have to get out there and be able to be more focused in that area and really define what we're looking for on that. But dynamically apply that. And going into another point with promoting membership, I think it's one thing that in here we definitely want to work on is how do we get our own community members? So I thank a lot of, actually a couple are on the call right now, community members who provided some feedback. So we have a couple community members, and this is going forward to you and Mr. O'Sullivan, who have offered to do a marketing committee where they go out and staff tables and they go out and one community member in particular said, listen, I'll knock on doors of new residents and hand them a poster. We could put it in see if the Chamber of Commerce will allow us to put a flyer in there in the residence bag. We have a lot of these things. So if we really market the membership, then we might be able to reduce the total lifetime numbers we have and even maybe get to a point where we could eliminate that, right? At some point, but we need to get where that's going. So we have a lot of manpower, woman power on the ground that is willing to do some of the work to help the pool because they love it so much, and that's fantastic. And those residents, I thank them for offering that. I think the staffing piece is good as far as reduction of the office staff, but there's one thing I think we still need to look at some data with respect to some very low peak times, like off peak time, we might be able to go down to 3, right? Office staff, because just start looking at trends. So having like the same number of staff every day or in every part of the week, something we might be able to look at, or if somebody calls out and it's a rainy day, maybe we'll replace them, or some dynamic reallocation of staff in there as well. And when we talk about the sponsorships, I think we need to try to, especially if we're at a table, and I like that that you included the ability for them to, if they pay extra, have a presence at the pool. This is something that I liked as well. But I'd like to see those sponsors be groups that meet community needs, right? So if we can get, doctor's office coming to do blood pressures, if we can have chiropractor coming to do chair massages, something like that, rather than selling an item, if we can avoid that, we might want to kind of target those, not turn any memberships down, but target those memberships toward people who we could use. So I think that's certainly those are some important things as well to consider. And the other thing that I've heard a lot and is that pool membership has seasons, phases in one's life, right? It's when you have younger kids, you tend to join, and then by the time your kids hit 7th, 8th grade, people start to pull out of membership, and because it becomes unclear or something to be part of the pool, and then people join, get involved in the pool again, maybe not as members, but as lifeguards, and then they go, and then they come back as adults, and then older Americans and so on. One thing I talked to the Township manager about, and I'd like to see this go forward as well, is bridging the gap where we can retain those middle school age families, and the idea that Deputy Mayor McAvoy and I came up with was the concept of a junior lifeguard program, where that would be open to that age, so they'd have to be a member to do, and we might be able to keep members for longer, and it's easier to keep members than it is to attract new ones, probably. So something along those lines that I can talk to you offline about, just some ideas, because they have like beach patrol down the shore, and I don't go on the shore like ever, but I know they exist. But those are some things that I just like to put out there. And another item is it would be helpful to be able to analyze the peak times for water usage to see if there's anything that we can do. Obviously, the splash pad it uses a lot of water, and that's been a big resident concern as well. So you might want to think if we can generate some surplus, is there a way we could build a filtration system in or something along those lines, actually recycle and clean that water so that we're not having to use tens of thousands of dollars worth of water for that. And we might be able to pay the debt service on the filtration system over the course of a number of years, and eventually after a few years it'll pay for itself. I think we'd be possible to engineer that, but it's just an idea out there. But I think your recommendations are good. Just amendments to throw out there, and I'll send them to you. Some things in writing. Councilman, thank you.
First off, thank you for this very comprehensive report. I know that this is a very complex topic and a lot of operational analysis and financial analysis goes into it. So thank you very much, especially someone who's new to this role. This is quite a project to dive into. I'm incredibly proud, and it's just great to see you stepping into this role. So thank you for being willing to do this, and look forward to your leadership. One thing I would be looking for, I pulled back up the New Gen Strategies report on the pool. And they have kind of a couple of forecast scenarios basically showing over a 6-year period expenses versus revenues for the pool, the fund balance or both capital and operating reserves. They show using 140K of fund balance through 2026. We're using 200K, but they're showing the pool returning to being cash flow positive 2027, 2029. What I would like for us to do is basically to take New Gen's slide and make it over and remake it using actuals. We need first off, because New Gen's report is the foundation of a lot of our financial analysis on the pool as to our fee structure and rate setting and overall the long-term operating plan for the pool. So if we're not continuously refreshing this, we're not going to hit our goal of getting the pool back to being financially sustainable. So that would be my ask is basically take New Gen's numbers, replace them with actuals, and reforecast through 2029 and let us know, are we going to hit cash flow positive in 2027 or are we going to have to subsidize the pool or otherwise manage expenses because we have to hit that long-term target. So that's basically in a nutshell what I'm really looking to see.
Councilwoman Hall.
Thank you. I want to echo what Councilman Roman just said, as well as the request for a budget and presentation from ideally our CFO. The point of doing the New Gen study was to make sure that we were making rate-making decisions based off of real data and that we were forecasting appropriately. So I wholeheartedly agree that we really need to be updating that on a year-to-year basis to see if we're hitting our targets and how we are actually working through that rate process. For many years, the town council was establishing rates for the pool based off of feelings, based off of reaction, based off of sometimes incomplete information. And that is why we ultimately commissioned the New Gen rate study. And I do think that there's value in continuing that process. So if we can get further detailed information about actuals and a comprehensive presentation about what the actual budget situation is, that would be tremendously helpful to this. I want to also talk about the payment plan recommendation that was put forward. I think that's a creative solution. It's certainly something that, there has been resident feedback on and an interest in. I want to talk a little bit about the practical realities of it. So if we're breaking the pool fees into 4 equal payments, are residents going to be charged for credit card fees every time they do that? Because that was something that was very shocking and surprising to residents the other year. And so, is this the actual amount that's going to be hitting people's bank accounts, or are they also going to be paying that transaction fee now 4 separate times? Also, what happens to a resident that has a changed circumstance and then for whatever reason they aren't able to complete that payment plan? There's not a lot of detail here, so I think we should anticipate those scenarios where a resident may be dropping out or seeking a refund or something. So what are going to be our policies around that? So if we're going to be changing to a payment plan structure, which I do think is valuable, and one of the concepts that had even come out was like, Could people pay in 2025 the 25 rates for the 26 season? You know, because people do that with summer camps and other things. I know that that's not one of the recommendations, but that was one of the ideas that have been put forward. It's about kind of the practical realities of it. So I don't want to be marketing to residents that, oh, you're paying, you know, these 4 equal installments and then there's hidden fees that they're not aware of. With regard to the page following that, sorry, the slide deck doesn't have page numbers on it. But you talked about the rec tent rental, which I think is a great idea. It's something that, you know, I've spent several years working with the rec committee and the pool subcommittee talking about these different ideas. And certainly the rec tent rental is one that they think is a great opportunity because that space is available. It can be great for family gatherings. In some ways, it's even superior to the gazebo, depending on the age group involved. But your slide says that it's $105, but it has this bracket that says first 2 hours. It wasn't clear to me what that meant.
There's when I was looking at the fee schedule and the website, there's like $100 fee for the gazebo, but that's only for 2 hours. You can pay us an extra $100 or I think it's the same, and get an additional 2-hour rental. So you can rent it for up to 4 hours, but it was broken out in the current fee schedule into 2 different line items. So that's why it was broken out that way.
Okay, I think that needs to be maybe made more clear, especially if we are going to then be marketing this as a new service that's available. Certainly in the limited time I had to review this, that wasn't tremendously clear to me. Your next point in your slide deck is about the out-of-town pilot program. So certainly this is something that's come up at different times. It's been recommended by the administration several times. It's come up in other recommendations as well. The feedback that we've consistently gotten is that residents want to maintain the community pool feel. And where we have started to see a willingness to accept out-of-town members is in the concepts of, like, for example, I'm a senior, I still live in Verona, I purchase a pool membership and I want to bring my grandchildren, I want to bring, you know, my daughter's family and stuff like that. So is there a way that we can do perhaps like a sponsorship model? So I know that Councilman Tamboro was speaking about his concept about prioritization. One of the things I think might actually be really helpful for us to do when we're looking at this is to take a giant step backwards and really look at our fee structure overall. Is it still appropriate for us to be referring to things as a family membership or a senior membership or 2 adults, or should we just actually be looking at like households or extended households to the point where, for example, I as a resident could, when my in-laws come for the summer because they're from another country, because my husband's British, they come for the whole summer. If they wanted to be taking my kids to the pool, could they be added onto my account? Even though they're not residents, but they're an extended household member, right? So can I do that? They are now under my account. I have that responsibility associated for it, but they've gotten that membership. Is that an opportunity? Because we had a very robust discussion at the most recent rec advisory committee meeting where we had a number of residents saying that they want their adult children, they want their grandchildren to be coming, they want them to have those pool memberships. And if we're opening it up to larger communities, even with a wait list, I think there's the potential that we're missing those families. And there could actually be opportunity for more than 100 additional registrations associated with that. So I think it's something to really reconsider this existing rate structure and whether it still works. And that's something that we started looking at last year when we reconsidered what had been called the babysitter extended family membership, where now we call it a caregiver because we recognize that it could be any number of reasons why you would have that additional person. So like, we've already developed a concept where you add on to your membership. Why can't we extend that? And that's something that's certainly come from several residents. Marketing is something that has been recommended year over year by the Rec Advisory Committee. They've had a number of suggestions that I strongly recommend that you consider, including tabling, including doing a food truck festival, including having a table with signups at like the Taylor Swift concert or something to that effect. With regard to volleyball and the change to grass, I would just urge us to go to the community about that. That was the first I had heard about that. I don't disagree with you though. I've seen that sand all over the pool before, and it has raised concerns for me. I want to compliment you guys for reconsidering the hours of the rec tent. I think that's a great use of it and recognizing when it's more utilized, and it totally makes sense that it's utilized more after the end of the summer playground program. That's when a lot of kids are going to the pool to kind of fill that gap in the day. So I thought that was a great recommendation. Thank you for that. Recognizing that we didn't have a contract with Starfish and that we weren't actually making any money out of that was something that a resident raised at a recent rec committee meeting. So I thank you for looking into that as well. And I did have some questions about the adult swim survey and the recommendations there, but I will bring them up separately. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. First, thank you both for this presentation. Ms. Briscoe, congratulations on your new position and absorbing this so quickly and getting it to us in this presentation tonight. I also like to thank the rec committee for all their work. I've spoken to the chair. And the analysis we get from them is so detailed and very helpful in all of these decisions. The one thing I worry about here, looking at numbers, is seeing what was and hearing what was said that pool revenue was up this year, but membership is down. And we've talked about that last year when we were contemplating raising rates. That was definitely a worry of ours. I see here we have 695 in income, and if we're going to raise rates 2% this coming year, that's another just under 14,000 in income. You have 332,000 in salary with a 5% increase next year. That's 16,610. So we're losing $2,600 there, just in the rate increases as far as salary increases. Won't balance out what memberships will bring in. I have said it for a couple of years too. I think advertising up there, banners on the fence. I really think businesses would love to do that, and I think that would be something where we can make up some money. Seeing this year, we're going to have a $60,000 deficit, so my guess is we're only going to take 60,000 out of surplus, so we'll have another 140 instead of the 200 coming out of that. I don't want to be redundant and go over others things that others went over that I agree with. But I do, it would be nice. I mean, our pilot program is going to have 100. We're looking at 100 families. I do think that if all these other ideas that we have work out, then we can lower that number. But this is stressed that it is a pilot for the next year. We'll see how it goes. I think the early registration is an excellent idea, and any sort of payment plan for any family, I think it is definitely a good way to budget your money. And I think that will bring some extra memberships in. I know two families in town, young couple, little kid, both said to me they didn't join because it was too expensive for them. So I directed them in other ways, but I hope they can join next year and they can work that out. The one thing you brought up about managers, how you wanted to extend the time period. My only question with that is, out of our current managers, you mentioned starting April 1st with the job. Can they start early? I don't know if they have another job and some teachers, whatever. So that's something to look into and ask the current managers before we institute that. The volleyball court, switching the grass, that's the first I've heard of it. But I will say, one of the times I was up there this summer, I was watching a little kid walking towards the pool with two handfuls of sand. So, and then someone stopped them, thankfully, before they dropped it in. So that I think is you certainly don't want to have an employee there watching that the entire time. So I think that's a good idea. I played volleyball in my day, and I think it's fine on grass. So that's one thing. Got the sponsors. Adult Swim, I do think, Saturday I think is a good idea, but maybe at another day like Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's only another, 15, 20 minutes per day, 2 times. Just an idea, just a thought. One of the other, probably my last thing I'm bringing up here, I did, a couple people, two people actually texted me, one person talked to me, about, I know the Twilight membership. What exactly is our Twilight membership?
I would have to look at the actual rules. I forget the time that it starts.
Okay, but it doesn't include weekends?
I'd have
Because
to-
these were people, empty nesters, that said on a Friday night at 5 o'clock, I come home from work and it's hot out. I'd love to go to the pool for a couple hours. And it's a time where families are obviously going home at that time. Same thing, on weekends, doesn't include weekends. This is something like, could there be some type of, membership in there for people that want to use the pool on a hot summer day? And it's just a thought, and I think we should think about that because I think it will bring some new members in. Yeah, but like I said, my worry is we have to really look at other forms of income for the pool, and you've given some great ideas, and I think we should use some of them. But I do think we have to be careful. The one thing here that I will say again, revenue up, but membership was down. And I think that's something we talked about last year before we raised it. So that's all.
Thank you. Just wanted to raise, Councilman Holland brought up the credit card fees. Those are usually done by percentage of the purchase, right? So that wouldn't increase if we had core
I'd have to check with
things.
Community Pass on that, on the actual fee
If they
and how
charge
they
an
can
additional
charge
fee
per
for example.
Can I add one more thing? My point with revenue up, members down. One other thing that people talked a lot about was the price of guest passes. So is it something where if it was a little lower, then more family members or relatives that come for a weekend, maybe they would join also? That's where I think if that number was a little bit lower, we may have a lot more revenue coming in. But suggestion, we could talk about it moving forward.
Thank you. Councilwoman McGrath.
Thank you. I guess I'm gonna get the last round. There were a lot of things that were said amongst the four of us, and I know you're balancing all of these comments. I want to focus on the fact that we had hundreds of residents fill out our pool survey, and we got the full results of the pool survey, including the verbatims, at 2:00 today. Okay, so as council members, and I added it up. So on the verbatim, the very last question was just sort of like a free, like, hey, tell us stuff about the pool. 25,000 words submitted by residents, which is really incredible. And so I want to start by thanking residents for their feedback and also recognize that resident feedback is really important as part of this process. And as people are kind of espousing a lot of ideas and thoughts, we have to start with the fact that a lot of those come from the residents, but we haven't, as council members, yet fully read all of the feedback from residents because we just got it at 2:00 today, which is fine. This is a first conversation. I look forward to reading. The print is very, very tiny, so I look forward to reading it all. I'm going to start backwards with the Adult Swim. I understand you asked a question about it in the end of the year survey, but we also asked, we had 2 real-time surveys when we did the pilot this summer, and I encourage you to go back and look at those and read those verbatims because I have. Adult Swim, I think there's a way we can get to what we want to accomplish and look at this not as a one-size-fits-all situation or rule where we say every Saturday it's going to be at this time and this time. I think we really need to read the verbatims because they were very robust, and I think they also come through in the 25,000 words that residents wrote. So I do encourage you to relook at that, and there may be ways of accomplishing the needs on Adult Swim to prevent a safe place for adults to be able to be in the pool in the middle of a busy day without getting splashed to death. I know, because I don't like to get my hair wet at certain times too. So, and so accomplish that in different ways. So I'm going to start at the last thing and then kind of work. I agree that we need to go back to that new gen analysis. I am a little concerned. This is like what we feel. So I do encourage in your next round of data to us, that's what we need is a little bit more data. Mr. Kraus, you gave us some great swipes data that was like through the end of July. I would love to see that for the entire full year. The other thing residents keep asking us, that none of my peers have mentioned, is how much people are using their membership. I see you did it with the fire and rescue, but per membership class, well, what is the distribution of how much a family is swiping in a typical pool season? What is a senior swiping? And I think that could also be interesting because the one thing that the new gen analysis failed to do was rebalance our rates. That actually gets to what Councilwoman Holland is saying about thinking about, maybe like rethinking our membership classes. I don't fully understand why some fees are going up and others aren't. I also had a conversation with Mr. O'Sullivan about the playgrounds. And so I feel like what we talked about last week about the intersection between our playground programs and them paying a fee to come to the school. I think there can be some creative thinking there. Maybe I'll email some ideas. But I'm surprised it was like a small increase. I thought there was going to be more of an adjustment to think again creatively on like low hanging fruit. I was actually a benefit of the Starfish program. But I think I emailed you this summer. I'm like, what is the arrangement with this? But I still want to be able, just for you to keep in mind, how do you give lessons to adults? Because on a personal level, that changed my life. I took adult swim lessons at the community pool, and my life has never been different. But I do applaud you for realizing that that program is probably not working. I think my colleagues have covered a lot of other things, so I just wanted to hit on more data on the guest passes. Like, let's look at. We have multiple years of guest pass data, so we increase the rates. What does that look like? The pool parties, I would love more data on how they went this year, the nonprofit ones. If you're increasing the ones for profit, I would love to see how many people had a for-profit pool party. That sounds okay. So, but you're increasing it nevertheless. So I would love to see the revenue projections that go with these increases, which tied us to Councilman Roman's point. But I think this is a great first effort, but I think we need to make sure we read those 25,000 words from residents, and there's some really good ideas in there, but there's also a lot of concern. And I do agree. And then I have a miscellaneous issue that wasn't ever fully addressed. We started replacing pool furniture, and it really doesn't look like it was a color scheme and a style that did not match the rest of the pool. So I really want it raised an interesting question for me. Like, we need to make sure this pool looks good and we have like a whole look and feel. And we need to make sure that as we replace aging equipment, we kind of keep the cohesive. Well, that's part of its strength, is what it looks like. And I was disappointed in some of the new, while they were technically, good pieces of furniture. They were stable. They didn't heat up too much in the sun. They didn't look like our pool. So I'm a little concerned as we keep replacing furniture. So please keep that in mind, and maybe we can do a course correction. But I look forward to working with you, Ms. Prisco, as I told you on email. And I'm really excited for your energy and creativity. And thank you, Mr. I know you learned a lot this year on this pool stuff. So I look forward to that. I thank our volunteers. I see Mr. Shore in the back of the room, and all of the residents who wrote 25,000 words that I can't wait to read in the next 2 weeks. Thank you.
Mr. Shore, is there anything you'd like to add on the rec committee? Since you are here.
Thank you, Town Council, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things. So I would say 90% of happy, because it's like 90% of the things that we've all been talking about over the last couple of years is starting to move in the right direction, which is a great thing. And now, devil's in the details, and I see from all the comments that it's still going to take a lot of work and hopefully work that's done quickly because what do you know? It's Halloween, it's Thanksgiving, and trying to get to that payment starting in January happens. So, and there's only a certain amount of town council meetings. So, please let's try to move it as quickly as possible. Just a couple things. I really want to hone in on a couple things that have been spent. Sponsorship, rec tent, event space, sponsorship also. I'm challenging the administration to hit the mark 50,000, 100,000. That's where it really needs to be. Over the last couple of years, sponsorship has been 12,000, 13,000, and the amount of expenses that has occurred here compared to revenue, it's just not enough. And if you look at it, yeah, you can bring in 100 non-resident memberships, but based on the expenses, it's still not enough if we don't do the sponsorships, the events, and membership goes up. So I like to see a group committee working with community services, and congratulations to Pam, and I'm sure she's going to do a fantastic job. But I think that's very important to have a working group of volunteers to increase the membership. I know there are some members that don't have real hesitations about non-members, but you have to look at it. 751 members, that's family members. That's 75% of the revenue that comes in. We'd have to hit 900 members or more to be able to not go into non-residents. That's very difficult. Last year we 812. So if we ever want to do that, we have to have a volunteer army of people working with community services and administration and town council to be able to do that. There was a member of the rec committee said it very, very clear. Volume cures all. That's what it's going to take. More bodies in the pool. That's what it's going to take. A couple other things. Free membership with the firefighters and rescue squad. Very happy about that plan. It's a good step in the right direction. I think that's a great value of what firefighters and rescue squad bring to. It just has to be covered because of the financial scope of where we are. The Adult Swim. I'm against it. I've said I'm against it. The only thing is that I'd like to see the survey, the end of the year survey. I haven't seen it yet. I've asked for it. I haven't seen it yet. I'd really like to see it so this way the committee can get into it and the public can get into it. I asked for it so this way maybe we can have a conversation today with the council about it, but we haven't seen it yet. One thing that strikes me about it is that it was neutral. Well, if that Adult Swim is neutral, then what about that? Means that there's a significant percentage that are very upset with it, and there's a lot of people that are happy with it. I think you really have to get into detail about the comments that were made, and I agree with Councilmember McGrath because I read those comments too in our first survey, and it was a lot of people that were upset about what that Adult Swim happened and what occurred. And I have friends that are totally for that program, but there really has to get into the details about implementing a program like that. And there's going to be people who are happy and people who are not happy, and that's the way it is. But I think just a little more detail has to go into that instead of just saying, hey, everybody's neutral about it. Let's move it forward. So I have some concerns about that. Volleyball, I didn't see the survey, so I didn't see any of the reservations that some people had. It says there the volleyball that the majority actually wanted the volleyball. It didn't say that they didn't want the sand. They just said that they liked it. So it is. It means that they wanted the sand. One thing that I mentioned previously, and this is one thing, an example was at the splash pad, there was a wall there, and I mentioned there should be some signage so that this way the kids don't go on top of it. And that happened last year, which was great because it was unsafe. One thing that you could do at the volleyball court, which I haven't seen, is put signage. When kids come out of there, because my kids go in there, because not going for volleyball, they're going to make sandcastles, right? I tell them, go shower, go wash off before they go in there. In the last 3 or 4 years that I've been at the pool, I've never seen signage whatsoever. So I think it's important that we communicate with our members before saying, hey, let's take sand out of the volleyball court. Let's try to do another year to say, hey, let's put some signage and let's do some recommendations. Please don't go into the pool with the sand because it hurts the filtration system. So, otherwise, like table holding, good luck to whoever is going to.
Walter Steinman involved. The table ranger.
And I just really like to thank all the members of the pool committee, the town council, that heard me 5 million times over the summer and have heard me all over the last couple of years. And I'd like to thank the residents and town administration that I've worked with. I thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to speak here today. I appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Just, I think your point on setting targets for the sponsorships is important. It's something that I had as an idea as well, built to articulate. So that would be something that would be nice to see by X date. We would have X new sponsors to see if we're behind the stuff there. And I just want to thank you for your leadership on this. The rec committee has done very well. I know that's no small part of the commitment that you have individually as well, put into preparing a lot of documents and reports and budgets, and it is very noticed and very valuable. So thank you, Mr. Shore. Mr. Robin.
I just had a takeaway from your comments. One of the important things that I'm feeling is this is sort of an all of the above strategy to basically make the pool fiscally sustainable. We have to be hitting targets on sponsorship revenue. We have to be getting as many memberships as we can through a marketing program. We have to do the out of town memberships. I agree at this point in time that's just kind of a given. We need to figure out a way to get there. We need to be doing more ticketed events. We need to look at every single category of available revenue that we can bring in the door to try and hit these targets. But then I want to just kind of reiterate the point from earlier, looking back at the New Gen report. The New Gen report has us hitting cash flow positive in 2027. I would say that organizationally, we need to try and hit that goal. We need to be forecasting it. If we're saying that we're going to do that, we need to track our progress towards it and figure out if we're going to have to adjust our operating strategy a little bit over the next 2 years or what. But we should really try and be cash flow positive in 2027. It's really, I hope to see that. So, but thank you again to the pool committee and everyone in the rec department and all the pool members and everyone who's been working towards solving this very challenging but very important problem for the township. And we have a commitment to keep the pool in good condition and to keep it the way it is for our community. And we'll get through this. So thanks everybody.
Mr. O'Sullivan, it is still your report.
I do have one final presentation on my report that is for our township planner to present the redevelopment plan for 383 Greenfield Avenue.
Sam, you're up.
Thank you. How do I connect?
Should just plug it in. Yeah.
There should be a quarter.
Yep, should be. Just plug it in. It's all set up.
This is why Pam's director of services here, because she just pops right in and gets everything hooked up.
Sorry. Does that work?
Yep.
Thank you, everyone. I promise you I'll make it quick. Okay. So everyone has a copy of the redevelopment plan. Just to remind, every day I go through the process. A redevelopment plan is introduced by ordinance. So today it'll get introduced. On October 23rd, I will be presenting it to the planning board for consistency review. And I'll come back to you in November for a second reading, which will be a public presentation. So right now I was hoping to go through it a little, quickly so you understand what it entails. When I come back, I will be doing a full-blown presentation. Does that work for everyone here?
Well, thank you.
Okay. So as you know, the redevelopment process, the municipal council authorizes the planning board by resolution to conduct area in need of redevelopment, which was done sometime last year. The planning board then conducted the study, held a duly noticed public hearing, and in
That was, I think, in January of this year. And then the council accepted the planning board's recommendation and designated the area as an area in need of redevelopment. And just to refresh your memory, it's part of the rehabilitation area. And then I was assigned to do the redevelopment plan, which I've been working on it for the past few months. And we are right now the current step where the ordinance gets introduced. Then the role of the planning board is advisory in this case, as per the redevelopment statutes, and they'll check for consistency with the master plan. And at the next meeting, the governing body, all of you either adopt the redevelopment plan or you may ask me to amend it, revise it. But all this called a redevelopment plan. As you all know, it's an ordinance. And then the next step would be, of course, going through the redevelopment process. And then when the redeveloper wants to develop the property, it then comes back to the planning board for a site plan review, which is typically what happens in this case. So as I mentioned, it's a 3-step process. Right now we're in step 2. The next step would be the actual development of the redevelopment plan. So the planning goals, you have to, the statute sets forth what it constitutes. So it's typically planning goals and objectives. Then the next is, analysis of any concept plans. It's the relationship to the development regulations, relationship to the master plan of contiguous municipalities as well as the town's municipality, and regional and state documents. And then it's required by statute to have procedures for amending the plan. As you all know, this area is the Hillcrest Farm property at the corner of Park Avenue and Bloomfield. And, every redevelopment needs to have a vision. And the vision that we have here is investment and economic vitality. It was recognized in the master plan. We've been, with the rehabilitation designation, we continue to do that. We're trying to improve the law to have more sustainable development, improving stormwater management, just overall sustainability, and to provide a range of housing, special needs housing. So it's a mixed use development that we're proposing, and we're trying to revitalize an underutilized portion of the township with something that's of a high quality. The goal of all of it is to encourage walkability, public transit use, and minimize vehicular dependency. Typical, there's an introduction section and existing conditions, definitions for what's being proposed so the language is clear, use and bulk regulations, building and site design, consistency, and then implementation. Again, the redevelopment area, this is in the existing ETC zone. We are recommending an overlay, so the underlying zoning prevails, but with that option of providing an overlay. As you know, it's surrounded by commercial and multifamily residential uses. We've put in different kind of uses that the current zoning doesn't permit. This is more up to date. As you can see, it's very clearly described, and I'll go into detail when I do the second presentation. And then also one of the things about the beauty of a redevelopment plan is, when you have design standards under conventional zoning, they cannot be enforced to the extent that if it is a part of a redevelopment plan.
and we try to put in building and unit design standards, driveway standards, pedestrian requirements, signage and awning standards, which is a little bit more augmented than what we currently have. We've tried to put in design standards in terms of what kind of materials we would like to see, copper standards as well. Facade. It's basically the whole goal of this is to live in the area and make it look very attractive. So we put in standards like lighting standards, for example, which we don't have in our ordinance, and we put in here. Stormwater management rules, some sustainability requirements in terms of landscaping, water management, energy efficiency, etc., etc. And then finally, this ordinance or redevelopment plan, if you will compare the relationship to Verona's master plan, adjacent municipalities, and the state plan. So this is it from me. Thank you for your time, and I'm ready to take any questions.
Any questions from Mr. Hoffman? Just offer comment. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, and I'll see you in at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Did we want to deal with this, with the event that we're doing now? It's Los Angeles here, or is that what you said? Nobody's having no questions for Sam by the time we do the event. No. It's anything else, Mr. Rosen?
The only last thing that's under my report is the deputy manager's report. Given the hour, maybe I'll suggest that we just open to questions from the council on his report.
I thought it was thorough.
That would conclude my report otherwise.
Don't worry, it's only 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
On to council member reports. Deputy Mayor McAvoy.
Try to be brief. As we said, we haven't been in a while. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the moment of silence for Daria's family. I did not know him. However, I did have the privilege of hearing her speak at graduation this year. I commend the principal for giving up his time to allow her to speak. My condolences to the family. On that note, go through in order here. Mr. Mayor, well done. The 9/11 ceremony was very well done this year. I'd like to thank everybody that was involved. Chris Gould, Buildings and Grounds, Public Works. Every year, seeing all those flags in the center of town is just breathtaking. It really is. You stop and you kind of really think back to what went on, and it's a very good tribute that we've been doing, and I hope we continue it forever. Events that went on, I too attended Claridge's 60th, Claridge 1 60th ceremony. It was very well attended in the building, and very nice to meet more of those people up there. Congratulations to the juniors on Taste of Verona. That too, well attended, and it was a lovely event. And I wish them luck in their food drive coming up, and we will be there. I also attended the Blessing of the Pets this weekend. Those events are a lot to put together, so I thank the Church of the Holy Spirit for doing that. I think this was 10 years. What was it? I think it's a lot to get together and run. And I'd like to thank Wings and the Next Angels for joining us tonight, and for the breast cancer awareness flag raising. And lastly, I did attend the We Care rally on September 26th. The head of We Care, he has gotten some of the biggest environmental organizations and groups in the state of New Jersey together to help fight the development up on Split Rock up at the top of Howell Drive. The group behind them is very strong. I urge anybody that lives in Verona and that is affected by flooding to please look into this and get involved and attend. I've been attending most of the planning board meetings in West Orange. It has a possibility, a minimum of 7,000 trees will be taken out of that forest. It has a possibility of upwards of 9,000 or 10,000 trees. There is an emergency access road being proposed on Howell Drive. It is in the West Orange portion of Howell Drive. However, who knows in the future if state regulations change and they have to change that to an access road, it will actually devastate that neighborhood with the amount of traffic. And that neighborhood is the Forest Avenue section. So I urge people that live in the Forest Avenue section of Verona to attend and really get involved in this one. It's coming to a close, but I really do feel that this is probably one of the worst developments I've ever seen proposed, and I hope that they are successful in getting this shot down and preserving that 130 acres, 120 acres, and keep it the last remaining core forest in Essex County. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman West.
Thank you. I was also able to attend the Claridge 160th anniversary party. All of us from council were there, so it was very nice of them to have us attend. It was great to meet so many residents from Claridge. One of my takeaways from that was that they really do consider themselves a part of Verona as a larger community and appreciate the services and everything that this community offers. There's a lot of people that may have formerly lived in a single family home and had moved up there. We saw some friends that we knew there. So it was just a really special event, and that building provides just a great community for its residents. It was a wonderful thing for us to be able to mingle with everyone at that building. So thank you to everyone there. I have it on my notes here. I already kind of mentioned this, but I did again want to congratulate Mrs. Briscoe, our new director of community services. I've had the pleasure of working with her in her previous role and during my time on the council for the last 10 years. It's been a pleasure watching her develop as a leader, and all the other things that she does in this community just shows how much she cares about Verona, how much she understands this town, and the community services role I think is absolutely perfect for her. Because this is an area that really tries to provide a service to every single demographic in Verona. Whether it be a rec program or whether it be senior programs, we try and offer a little bit of something to everyone. It's something we hear from a lot of residents about, so it's value, strong leadership is very important there. So I was just very appreciative that she was willing to step up for this, and that the township leadership came to a decision that she was the best person for the role. She has our strong support for the work of the people. So congratulations. On a bit more difficult note, I did give the chairwoman of the planning board a call today to tell her that I was going to be stepping down from my role with the planning board. I have some significant schedule challenges that I'm not able to resolve, and I just don't have my Thursday nights free anymore. I have had the pleasure of serving on that board for the entire time on the council. It's one of the things I'm sort of most passionate about is land use and really being able to shape the community and to preserve it for all the aspects that people love here in the town. That's a very passionate group of people that also share that vision. So it's unfortunate. The practicality is I'm simply not able to make it to those meetings at this time. So I want to wish them the best of luck with their ongoing work. And again, my thanks. It's a very intense role to serve on the planning board. So thank you to everyone there. And the council will appoint a new one of our membership to that. So nice member.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rivera.
Thank you. I want to extend my condolences to Daria's family. As a fellow parent who had a child in her graduating class, this is just devastating news and has really rippled through the class of 2025 very significantly. And I spent a lot of time talking with my own child about her passing. It's really difficult to comprehend. And so my thoughts are with Joseph and Dina and her brother and sister. and I look forward to the family announce that they'll have a future celebration of her life at the Verona Community Center. And I look forward to honoring her in that way. I too was at the 9/11 ceremony, and I want to thank everyone who participated, including our high school chorus. I too was at Taste of Verona. Thank you very much to the Junior Women's Club for that really fun event, and for Congresswoman McIver for attending. I too was at the Claridge House One event and saw a lot of great friends that I have there, and really enjoyed celebrating the building and seeing a beautiful book of photographs and mementos that they pulled together. My committees have been very active since our last meeting. I served as a representative on the Shade Tree Commission. They met twice. They are undertaking a inventory of shade trees around town. You probably saw the township announcement on that. That is in preparation of a community forestry plan, which is due by the end of the year. They've been very involved in the Everett Field renovation project and have met with these administrations several times. They're involved in the streetscapes project and had a meeting on that today. And they are preparing to apply for a very significant grant, which would go towards reforesting our town. There is lots of work to be done with the administration on that. And then, we would have to cross our fingers that we get it. So I want to thank the Shade Tree Commission. They're putting in a lot of time. Another group that's putting in a lot of time is the Neighborhood Traffic and Safety Committee. At their last meeting, they discussed the council's reaction to their complete streets policy. They have been attending meetings for the Essex County Safe Streets for All project. The public is invited to go to a meeting for this very important initiative that the County of Essex has been undergoing for the last year. That meeting is on October 14th at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. You can go to bit.ly/Essex-meeting. I believe this will be publicized through our communication channels. And we thank our partners for the county for underdoing this work. The township has the ability to download all of the data and get all of the data that was collected in this initiative. And I do encourage our administration to do so. And I've already had a conversation with Mr. O'Sullivan about that. The Neighborhood Traffic and Safety Committee is also involved with the Streetscapes project and will be meeting with the sub-team shortly. And then finally, the Multicultural Inclusion and Accessibility Advisory Committee is also hard at work planning events. They partnered with the Verona Public Library for what I heard was an incredibly successful Hispanic Heritage event this weekend. The pictures looked lovely. Unfortunately, I was out of town. They are going to be at Halloween with teal pumpkins to support kids with allergies who cannot have nut products. And they are planning our annual Diwali celebration, which is going to be on Sunday, October 19th at 6 p.m. They also have an eye out for planning. They'll be supporting Fair in the Square and planning our annual Hanukkah celebration, which may have a new location. And that's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you. I was recently asked, why I care about advancing women in leadership, and something that struck me tonight was that we were honoring the juniors for Verona Fights Hunger. We were talking about Wings and Minette's Angels, and I just wanted to acknowledge these really impressive organizations and the female leadership associated therewith. I think the juniors and Wings and so many other organizations do such an amazing job. And I'm just delighted that we have the opportunity to honor them. I will spare the residents and save us some time from reiterating my attendance at all of the same events that my various colleagues attended. They were lovely, and I was pleased to be there, and I enjoyed meeting with the residents while I was there. I'm also very proud to serve as the liaison to the Verona Municipal Alliance Committee, and we are having Verona's family night this Wednesday night. So it is a slightly different date than what was originally advertised, but we have an amazing amount of restaurants that have offered discounts. So I really want to urge residents to take advantage of a night that doesn't have practices and maybe a little light on homework to avail yourself of some of our amazing restaurants and spend some time with your family because I think dinner does make a difference. And I will acknowledge that my daughter did draw one of the posters, and it's adorable. But I think it's a great, program nonetheless.
We unbiased.
Totally unbiased. I just like look. I just don't want to cook dinner on Wednesday night, so I think it's great. So no, it's excellent. And I enjoy it. So in past years, we had Lego competitions at my house. I suspect we'll do that again. I'm also the rec committee liaison, so I do just want to again acknowledge and appreciate all of the work that went into the presentation this evening. So thank you, Pam. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Corey, and the committee for all of the hours that we spend together. I also serve on the Joint Flood Advisory Board, and we will be having a meeting on October 16th. So thank you. And so that will be next week, and so I'll have more to report on that. Also, as anybody that's attended meetings of the council is aware, I often talk about affordability and in particular your utility bills. Something that I want residents to be aware of is that, as we move toward the winter months, and it certainly doesn't feel like that, right? It feels like it's August. But as we move toward the winter months, there is a winter termination program for your utility bills. That's your electric and gas bills, PSE&G. And it runs from November 15th to March 15th. But just the other week, the governor signed, or the acting governor signed legislation into law that will actually create a summer moratorium program too, or summer termination program. And what that means is that from June 15th to August 31st, if you have difficulty paying your utility bills, the utility company will be precluded from shutting you off. It gives an opportunity to negotiate budget billing or anything that you need to do to come up to. It just takes the time you need to be able to pay your utility bills. It is clearly a very customer-centric program, and it's a great opportunity for our residents that may be struggling at different times. So I do always make a point of making sure that residents are aware of these programs. So again, the winter program will be beginning in mid-March, and that's just something that we should all be mindful of. And now there's also an opportunity to have that reprieve in the summer as well. Finally, I'll close on the sad note, but I do want to thank the mayor for the moment of silence. It is particularly devastating to have heard the news about the loss of Daria, and I send my sincere condolences to her family. I can't think of anything more devastating than losing a child. And I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to open for public comment on any item that any member of the public wishes to address. Madam Clerk, would you please read the public participation statement?
Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any matter, if you are attending via Zoom, raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button on your monitor. If you are dialing in by phone, press *9, and if you are attending in person, raise your hand to be acknowledged before approaching the lectern. Once recognized, clearly state only your name and township of residence for the record. You are not required to provide your street address. However, if you do, please note that these meeting recordings are public record and addresses will not be redacted for any purpose. You will have 4 minutes to address the council. There will be no cross dialogue during this public portion. After everyone wishing to speak has been heard, the board may address your comments and/or questions.
Thank you. Third row. Okay. Thank you. Yep. Right up here, just say your name for the record and where you live. Your address, your street address.
Good evening, Council and Town Council and Mayor. My name is Katya Dahan, and I live on 34 Girls Avenue. So I am a resident, and I am also a business owner here in town. I own Viva Wellness Center, and my questions are going to be regarding those fees and proposal fees from the Bloomfield Health Department. I hold myself a massage therapist license as my business group. And so from everything I've understood so far, it's all about the safety of people from Verona, right, going into those different facilities, which I absolutely agree. And I hope that actually even restaurants or medical facilities are also being, checked in that sense. Now I want to correct some points that were wrong in the speech they had. For example, the massage therapy license is renewed every 2 years and not every year. To that renewal, we have to have 20 hours of continuing educations, which are very expensive in some ways. We are by law, we have to put our license, for our clients to see that when we are in the office, so they have to see our license. So myself, I have a business license from the New Jersey Board of Massage Therapists, and I have my personal license from the New Jersey Board of Massage Therapists. From everything they were saying, they were talking about sanitizing and everything, but everything is about mainly nail salon and barbers. And that's not justify for me the price of 250 per business and then 150 per massage therapist in the office, close to $25 for about, it is, in my opinion, outrageous. For us massage therapists, we have to pay sales tax, which are 6.7%. So if I deduct from what I'm making pay my clients and I deduct everything I have to pay from my mortgage because I'm happily owning this place that I have, from my license, my continuing education hour, my liability insurance, the material that I'm buying, the cleaning, I'm left with 35 to $40 really. So if I don't work, I'm not paid. I don't have a paycheck. So I just want people to be aware of that. So I love Verona. I'm trying to open a second business in Verona actually. And one thing that I want to point out, and I'm not trying to brag myself or whatever, but because of the uniqueness of what I'm doing, I have people coming from out of town, people coming from out of state. People are driving 2 hours to come and see me. People are driving from Cleveland to come and see me. So when they come here, they want to make the best of their day. So when they come here, I refer them to colleagues in town. I refer them to acupuncturists in town. I refer them to restaurants in town. I refer them to gym in town. So they come with kids. They go to the toy store next to us. They go to the book. So it's not only about us. We're trying to really make this community work together. So I'm just hoping that the town is going to think that twice. I'm okay in having something that really makes sure that everything is sanitized, everything is clean. But my understanding here, it was all about barbers and nail salon and not really about massage therapists. Most of the massage therapists in this town are small family massage therapists. They're not like big corporates. So I think before anything like that is done, I think it's better for us. We are Verona together, right? So I think it's better for us to come all together and talk about that and have everybody's opinion, because this town is thriving because of the small businesses that we are here. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll call on Mrs. Connolly online. Mrs. Connolly.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yes. My name is Elizabeth Connolly, and I am a Verona resident. I too would like to thank the council for acknowledging Darius' passing. I live across the street, and as I've told friends, we used to pray for Daria. Now we pray to her because she's surely with the Lord. Thanks to Ms. Prisco for her presentation. That was excellent. I don't think the increases are prohibitive, and the payment plan with some of the adjustments that Mr. Roman spoke about is a good idea. The extended family feature that Ms. Holland mentioned may not be necessary if guest fees were more reasonable. I know that they remained consistent over the last 3 years, even with fewer guests. But many of my friends and fellow pool members have not brought as many of their family members as often this past season. $15 for a toddler seems a bit prohibitive. Also, as Ms. McGrath mentioned, the pool furniture it looks great, but it has sharp rather than rounded edges. It may seem small, but that's a great idea for a picnic table where you're often in jeans or trousers. But the angles are a little tough on the bare legs. The other thing too, I spoke with Mayor Tamburo. I was happy that he reached out to me. And I am a member of the Woman Power of whom he spoke. And I have said that I would be willing to put information about the pool in the mailboxes of the new residents. We've had more than 100 people move into town since February. Many of them don't really know about the pool. And I think it would be a really good thing if, as Mayor Tamburo said, we could get the sponsorship cooperation of the Chamber of Commerce and produce something that would really focus on the pool. And perhaps Ms. Prisco may want to even have tours, pool tours, whatever. As I said, I'm willing to volunteer to do some of this work. So where do we go from here? How do I do that? Who should I approach? And how should I approach them? And that's about it. I thank you for your work. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Connolly. Anybody else in the room? Yes, come on up. Mr. Stein.
Walter Steinman, Verona, New Jersey. I want to thank the committee that put together this package this evening for the pool. It was very well done. I agree with a lot of the points. A couple of things I want to bring up is swimming lessons. You were talking about having swimming lessons for adults. We did do a few of them. What I think we should do is open up the swimming lessons to anybody outside of town also. I had a number of people come up to the front of the pool and ask about swimming lessons, and we said we only give them to members of the pool. I believe also with the volleyball, we should have grass. The guards that are down by the diving board are constantly seeing the kids run over the sand. They should be watching the pool and not disciplining children running in with the sand. Also, we don't have to deal with the wrath of the Department of Public Works in the morning about them having to pull out the vacuum to pull all the sand out. The sand is not just by the diving board area or in that area; it's all around. The kids that come down on the slides. There's sand there. It's down at the end of the ramp. It's all through the whole pool, and they have to take the vacuum out, the big vacuum, and take it all over the whole area. On the rec tent, I think it's a great idea. I think there might need some upgrading on the rec tent. The rec tent roof, I do not believe is waterproof, and there also is no power there. And I also concur with the idea of having outside people, members of the pool recommend or nominate or just review who comes in that Mayor Tambora recommended. And those are my points. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Going online, Mr. Blitz.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Bob, we got you.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, great report, by the way, by the committee. I thought it was very good, and I thought all the council members had very good points on that. I want to talk about two subjects. One, very quickly, the pool, and I've mentioned this before to the former rec department head. The family membership is defined as available to 1 or 2 adults per household, and they're unmarried, dependent children 24 years of age or younger living at the same residence. Children under 18 months of age do not require membership and are admitted free of charge. So I have 2 suggestions there. One is, I would suggest raising the age of 24 to 26. That would bring that in parallel. It's a different subject, but companies are required to offer health insurance to employees, children up to the age of 26 when they're supposed to be independent. That might keep people more active when they're coming back from college, and then more likely to sign up again. And then the other point that I have suggested before is there's families in town, such as mine, where you have an adult disabled child who is above the age of 24, And really, the intent of the family membership, having that cutoff, is that those adults at 24, should be having jobs, should be independent, and should be able to their own pool membership. But for those of us who are caring for adults who are not able to work, it would be nice to add something in that definition for a disabled adult child, which is a Social Security term. Second thing on the pool, I'm a former CFO. I haven't seen this Newmark study, but in terms of deciding on how much to increase the rates, apart from the very good point by one of the council members that volume cures all, in terms of the costs, it seems to me, I haven't seen all the reports you've looked at, that you're looking at things at how much should we increase this year? I think when you take a look at that, you should leverage whatever that new market report is and look 4 or 5 years in the future and put in a sequence of assumed increases so that you have time to adjust as time goes on. Because if those plans do not work out optimistically, then you may have to do a much larger increase down the road rather than incremental increases now or roll back in the future. And then the second thing I want to talk about, which is why I really dialed in today, is I'm very concerned about e-bike usage in the town. And I know the police are doing a great job with that. They're trying to educate people, but I personally have seen e-bikes that are illegal through town. I see people driving, children who are not old enough to drive those e-bikes, driving them recklessly. I'm all for kids having fun. I really am, but it's a situation waiting to happen where either a child is going to be hurt or an adult is going to hit a child. And then as soon as that happens, the first thing that people are going to say is, well, let's not turn this tragedy and criticize parents for buying their kids e-bikes. So in addition to what's going on right now, some of the ideas that I had, I don't know what's legal, is could we do some license requirement? We have licenses that we need to get for our dogs and our cats. Could we require licenses for e-bikes? Maybe tie some education requirement into that. And can we also do something where if a child or an adult is caught riding something illegally more than once, confiscate the bike? Because I think that if we don't do something that has a real impact, this is going to go on. There's going to be a tragedy down the road. So that's all I want to talk about.
Thank you. And for the record, that's Robert Blitz from Verona. All right. We have controversy. Come on up.
James Sales, long-time president for London Address the Council, Corey, and thank you all for your attention to the matter of the pool, which is near and dear to me. I can assure people from hearing, we gotta go here, it's all as good as I can assure them that there's some very serious plans underfoot to keep the pool closed. So thank you all for all the work that you've all done with this, and I look forward to many more years of enjoying it every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We love when we get nice positive comments like that. So thank you. Ms. Vincent? Madam Clerk, there are two people online who still have state meeting.
Good evening, Monica Vincent, Verona. I've sent numerous emails over the last few months. Some of you have not responded. I would appreciate some kind of response, or you at least acknowledge that you've received it. There was something that was said at the August presentation that kind of startled me by the police presentation. And they used suicide or self-harm as a, for lack of a better word, it's probably not the most appropriate, as a justification for an exercise room. And given the conversations and the presentations tonight, I wonder if money for an exercise room would actually go to be better use for actually bringing back a full-time or at least a part-time
Director of Health. We opened up tonight's meeting with talking about food insecurity. We have an out-of-town Bloomfield health director who's obviously in this day and age with technology, but she's 3 towns away. She doesn't live here full time. She doesn't get the sense of what's going on. And if suicide and self-harm is an issue among our Verona police, then I imagine that it might have some impact through the whole community. And I think that warrants a conversation about just health in general. I've shared with a couple of the members on this council that even when you think about this town, it's 2 square miles. I live on the corner of a dead end street. We haven't had a real conversation about garbage or sanitation, but that's health related, right? And there's a sanitation truck that goes down my street at least 4 days a week. And there's other things that are happening. And the gentleman that just spoke, I had an incident recently coming back from the park with my dogs, where I almost, because of the behavior of some teenagers, that they almost got hurt. So I would welcome a conversation or at least some acknowledgement that health is an issue. We have to be concerned, not just, and I recognize that's all related to just what we're doing with the street, or at least hopefully the county will step up and do something around Bloomfield Avenue with congestion. But it just, I'll be honest with you, I was a little annoyed by the comment by the police, but listening to what's happened, the conversations here tonight, I think it's a much bigger problem. And if the police are going to use that as a justification, I hope they remove that from their talking points. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Petrangeli, you had your hand up before. Oh, I'll stop. It's not an invitation, Paul, but
I wasn't gonna.
I did know your hand, so I wanted to be fair.
I wasn't gonna. Paul Petrangeli, Verona. I just wanted to touch on a few things about the pool. First off, Pam, congratulations. Very proud of you. I believe one day there will be a statue of you in Verona. Basically, with the pool fees and everything, with the out-of-town residents, I just wanted to bring something up on that. The fee was suggested around $1,000. I know Cedar Grove and other towns are about $1,000 more than their family charge. They add $1,000, so it's around $1,650 for a Cedar Grove out-of-towner. So that is ways we could make up the money, is just throwing that charge up there. Another thing is let's remember that just like Councilman McAvoy said, our revenue is up, but our membership is down. So this is a Verona pool. So we do want as many Verona residents as possible. One thing, I have been talking to a lot of residents, and the one thing I'm hearing is the couples rate. The couples rate just doesn't make sense versus the family rate. That is a huge thing. I believe we would have more couples in town. There's a lot of couples moving in without kids, so I believe that rate would help just bring more people in. And also a referral program. Maybe if we, to new members that move into town, say I know somebody and I want to, hey, you want to join the pool? I can get maybe a $25 kickback or something, just a member referral program to try to get people incentivized to just get more Verona residents to our pool. Otherwise, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Petrangeli. Mr. Shore.
Corey Shore, Verona, New Jersey. I just wanted to bring up 2 points. One, I wanted to talk about Mr. Bliss just recently. Just a personal story of mine that my son was diagnosed with autism at maybe a day before, and I was at the pool and I saw Mr. Bliss there with his son, and we had a good conversation. It was really the first time I told anybody that my son had autism, and his son dove off the diving board, and I just when I heard him today, I was like, that's the individual I spoke to at the pool that really kind of calmed me down, because I was very upset before. So his point is well taken. 26 is definitely the appropriate age, and having him as part of a family membership and part of the family, seeing him every single summer is important. It's important to me, and I think he's a great guy, and I love his kid. So I think that's wonderful. Second point, on the guest fees, I've heard a lot about that. I hear what everybody's saying about the guest fees, but the problem is if you lower the guest fees, right, then people will start using it as a membership. So you currently have it at like 45 and 15, but you do 45 times, 10 or 15 times, right? The average click per individual, I believe last year for the police squad was like 15, 16 times. So that's probably the average. I mean, I agree with you, Councilman McGrath, about how many times people are coming in. It's probably about 15, 16 times. So if that click rate is about 15, 16 times, and you do the guest times that, there's no sense of getting a membership. And we're trying to get people to buy into memberships because that was 75% of your revenue over the last couple of years. So when people talk about that guest fee, I get it, I understand it, but you also have to understand that the town and the community services and the pool are trying to increase our membership as much as possible to be able to pay for the pool going forward. So thank you very much.
Any other comment? This time I'll close public comment. Just have a couple just responses. Anybody else can pop in? Ms. Dahan, your concerns are well noted, and I think that you have agreement with three folks on the council that we would like to lower the massage fees. And I would encourage you to keep up with that process to make sure that happens. Right? You have my support there. And I really loved your message about referring people to other businesses in town because that's how it operates. And I just saw the community spirit. So I just wanted to point that out. I appreciate you coming to the meeting today. Mrs. Connolly, thank you for your thoughts as well on the guest fees, and I will share your contact with Mrs. Briscoe regarding the committee. I've sent her a bunch, and I was compiling some others, and I will send that on as well. Walter, as always, thank you for sharing your thoughts and expertise on the pool because you were one of the people on the ground. Mr. Blitz, I think your point on the age is well taken. I think it would be worthwhile for the administration to take a look at that and see what the impact is. It's probably minimal because we don't have a lot of very young people in that age group, getting independent memberships. So I would think that would be something that we could do. And I agree with your doing some out-year projections. One of the lessons that we learned from the New Gen study last year is they proposed dramatically higher fee rates, and we learned that comes with lower numbers, right? And it's something that Councilman Roman and I brought up because we like saying economic things like price elasticity of demand and things like that. But and that's why we're looking at lower increases now because if you look at the New Gen study, their recommendation is another 10% increase this year, which is something that would be catastrophic for membership rates. So and then 3% per year after that. So at this point, I think the vision behind the 2% is to recoup some of our increased expenses while relying on the other revenue streams to make up for that. And it's a very delicate balance there, and it's going to take some trial and error for sure on that as well. But I agree with projecting some out year, especially with my concern about regenerating the fund balance that we've used. I agree with your e-bike thing. I've had conversations with our police chief about e-bikes, and a lot of this is governed by the New Jersey state law. So we are limited in what we can do, but it would be interesting to take a look. One of the most difficult things is enforcement. I know police are doing it, but it's a very tough position to chase somebody on an e-bike because that could result in a dangerous situation. So it has to be done in a very delicate way. I think that's one of those things that we have to look at, and there are definite laws about when we can see property and things like that the state applies. Our attorney's not in the state. There's something that I think to look at as far as any other towns have done something additional. And Mr. Arroyo, in addition to his role here, is a chief municipal prosecutor in still Brian in another town, and will be able to provide us some insight on how the laws break down there. Ms. Ailes, once again, thank you for your positive comment, your participation in the meetings. Ms. Vincent, I think your points on mental health are well taken, and I know particularly in the emergency services field, we're seeing a dramatic increase in self-harm and suicide among emergency services personnel, and that goes police, fire, and EMS based on what people see. In the past several years, there have been pushes to have resiliency programs and mental health officer programs within these services that have been successful. But overall, general health certainly is in there, but I think it would be important for our Department of Community Services to note some of the things that we do in connecting people to mental health services. We have, there are open mental health service programs in Essex County and mobile crisis and various other things that we could better advertise and share that exist as well. And Mr. Petrangeli, I think a statue of Mrs. Prisco would be a great addition to town. I would just need you to begin the fundraising effort for that. And I think that we could definitely go. To respond to your point on the rate for the out-of-town members, other towns do charge a much larger amount, and we're trying to take their business. And I think in the first year at least, I like the $9.99 that the rec committee proposed versus the $1,000. It's one of those things. But I think at that point, if we do start to see people get interested and they like the facility, then we can look at some higher increases in next year, still in a reasonable area so that we're not incentivizing people to leave and go back. But I appreciate your point. I think the marketing strategy on that is really well done. So thank you for your comment. Anybody else have any?
Just to Mr. Hunt's comment regarding the massage inspection. We'll just ask if you could get in touch with either the Township Administration or the Township Council. There's a contact form on our website. We would value your input on this ordinance. My comments earlier, whenever we're regulating something, and especially when we're charging a fee for things, this is places where I like to tread lightly personally. Obviously, the health officials made what I felt was a good case for why there should be some form of oversight of all of these businesses, but we don't want it to be a hindrance to businesses, particularly those that are acting in good faith and running good operations. So if you can help us with your expertise, it would be very much appreciated. So if there's anything in particular you flagged in that ordinance, please let us know by email.
Councilwoman McGrath.
Thank you. And I agree with Councilman Roman's comments. I do encourage you to step forward. I do want to ask, based on the feedback that we've received even today from Ms. Briscoe, Mr. Krause, and for the administration, I think there's a lot of confusion between the guest passes and the day passes, and confusion on those amounts. And because again, people are like, oh, it's so cost prohibitive, but I think they're thinking a little bit more about the day pass. Yes, we did raise the guest passes as well. We took away the free guest passes years ago, and people have not forgotten. I think that's the other 25,000 words that we've gotten in the verbatims that I will be reading in the next 2 weeks. So, but people are really confused. So I think thinking that through too, and I think the day pass is very cost prohibitive. But again, we don't want it to be too low, to Mr. Shore's point, because then people use it in replacement of the membership. So just want to leave that out there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to Mrs. Hahn, what she went over, they were just suggestions to us for prices, so we can obviously review and revise. The pool, as far as the pool goes, one thing I was thinking of when I mentioned, membership is down, that's revenue maybe up. There, if I look at the town, there's a lot of people putting in ground pools in their backyard, so that's going to reduce membership because they're going to have, and that reduces membership because then the neighbors are invited, and we don't have to join the pool because they put a gate here for us. So those are things that we just have to keep in mind. And I will also add to the guest pass comment that I made. It was from someone who are grandparents that live in Verona, and they paid a guest pass for their grandchild to go. So they were saying that was a little high for them, and that's where that was coming from. As far as e-bikes go, I totally agree. I actually attended this past spring sat in for the mayor, all the police chiefs in, I think it was District 40 that, had a good conversation about it and how dangerous they are and what some of the towns are doing. And, I went with, our chief chairman to that event and I reported it to the mayor. But that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, we have some ordinances to discuss at this point. So we are going to look at ordinance H1. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2025-15 on second reading. Madam Acting Clerk, would you please read the title of this ordinance into the record?
Amending Chapter A 565, Schedule of Fees, Section 5, Recreation Department and Community Center Fees.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can somebody please move this ordinance? So moved. Motion made by Councilman Rapp. Is there a second? Councilman Roman apparently second. Is that a second? Okay, I saw your hand. Motion. The ordinance has been properly moved and seconded. This time I'll open for public comment. On this ordinance only, the same public comment statement applies. However, it's just verbiage. Any comments on Mr. Short?
Corey Shore, Verona, New Jersey. Thank you again. Just a couple of comments. Just want to thank the advisory committee for working hard on these proposals for program fees to increase. Mayor, there's one thing that I think you mentioned last time, which was the affordability on the sliding scale. I had some thoughts about that. I think that maybe the committee working with administration could potentially look at a lower tier. And what I mean by that is I used to be on the board for a nonprofit sleepaway camp, and we did after school program and sleepaway camp, and we did it for inner city kids. So the idea was it was based on a financial scale, a sliding scale. It's possible that maybe with the correct wording and there should be a tier that can be used for the low end of some of the fees, so that some of the it's kind of like the free and reduced lunch, but we could try to find a lower tier to where families can pay a little bit lower for basketball, a little bit lower for tennis, or a little bit lower. And this would be consistent for all programs in rec, not the pool because that's membership and that's not out of town fees. But I think maybe as a rec committee, we can work on something like that would strengthen the ability of possibly, hopefully passing this today and then working out some additional language to find a tier to do that. So that would be my comment in that particular area from what you said last time in the first reading. We worked really hard on the recreational program fees. The sliding scale, I think, is important for administration to have leeway to raise the fees. I think it's the first step because hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months, administration and the rec committee can work together on a budget on looking at the programs that we're currently doing, summer camp, basketball, and maybe increasing some of those budget line items. But increasing the fees is the first step. The budget's the second step, and bringing in line of how our town is increasing in size, and then going forward on the correct program fees to support good quality program across the town. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? See none, close public comment. Mr. Short, thank you for your comments. I appreciate you working on that. Any other council discussions on this?
Very quick question.
Deputy Mayor.
In the Rutgers coaching class, who does this pertain to? What is this? All sports? Do they all go to Rutgers for coaching? Are they all required to take a class? For all sports across the board. Anyone coaching, any kid in Verona has to get it. And how do we go about finding out? Do they register?
So for the Rutgers safety class, any coaches that is coaching any of our youth programs need to have this 3-hour course. It's offered online. It's $40 per coach. There are certain dates that it's available through Rutgers. Then Mr. McMahon from our office when a coach signs up. Right now, we're getting ready for our coaches for basketball season. So our recreation and suburban coaches, he will check to make sure that each coach had their certification through Rutgers. It's a lifetime, once in a lifetime. So
Okay.
you could check with Rutgers. It's a $5 fee for them to reissue you a card if you lost your card. But you're in their database, and the database is on the Rutgers website for us to confirm each coach has that Rutgers course.
So it's a one. Thank
It's a one time.
Thank you, Ms. Bristow. All
And
right.
assistant coaches.
Madam
All
Clerk,
coaches.
would you be so kind as to call the roll?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yes.
Ordinance H1 will be numbered 2025-15 and is passed by a vote of 5-0. It will be published according to law.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is I1, ordinance on first reading. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of this ordinance into it?
Fixing the salaries and compensation of the paid officers and employees of the township for the 2025, 2026, and 2027 calendar years.
Thank you. Somebody move this ordinance. So, motion made by Councilman Roman, I'll second it. Any council discussion on first reading? No, just for the public, notification has been revised to be 2025 and 2026 only, whereas the original proposed ordinance was also the 2026.
We just ask, can you flag any of these that are contractual or otherwise sort of set, and which ones are discretionary?
Yes, would you like that now or as part of the public second reading?
At the second reading,
Okay.
you bring that up as to, which ones are truly debatable items, or which are decided items.
Sure.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yes.
Ordinance I1 will be numbered 2025-16 and is passed by a vote of 5-0. It will be published and a public hearing will be held on October 20th.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we have the consent agenda. We have meeting minutes from the consent agenda as they are on that's if the meetings are not complete. So somebody please move L1 through L13. Which if I count for one with that, if there's a second. Seconds moved by Councilman Rosen. This time I'll open for public comment on the consent agenda only. The same public comment stand applies. Hearing none. I close public comment on the agenda. Any council discussion on the consent agenda?
First, I emailed the clerk our package. We had L7 authorizing a contract with ZC Utility. I think we have another resolution in this package, correct?
Yes.
So there's actually going to be 14, so that 13 resolution. L7. Not on the resolution list.
So it's not on the agenda. We can't technically include it in the consent agenda.
Yeah. This is something time sensitive.
The insertion of the installation of an insertion valve and digester pump room at the wastewater treatment facility.
Yep. So which is this one right here?
L7.
Get down.
So, if I may, it also says in that there be it resolved that All American Sewer Services authorized a contract under the same one under L7. So, if we do need to pull this in, we need to fix that as well.
So what? So L7 is just removed, and so L8 is what in the package was L7 on the
Correct.
So, all right. Well, we're gonna have to deal with that one in a second because we can't include it in the consent agenda because it wasn't published. we could put in the new business and pass it if we want to do that, but just can't be consistent. Yep. All right, any other discussion on the consent agenda?
Yes, on L1. In the contract, it has a deadline of September 30th, 2025.
That would be before today.
Yeah. Not even worse.
This is, that is one of the opioid settlements that have a deadline which predated today. To ensure that we were included, the proper documentation has been provided. We included Thursday to be a resolution which ratifies that action. The second opioid settlement, the later date.
Yeah, I'll do October 8th. So that's when.
And
It's a very simple one. The cancellation of the tax. They have Grove Street in the resolution. It's in Berlin.
What's the actions to changing the cases of that?
Just like not reading or about me to Grove Street.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yeah.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yeah.
Mayor, resolutions L1 through L13 are approved by a vote of 5-0 and will be numbered 2025-223 through and including 235.
Thank you. We have no license or permit this evening. We do, however, have an addendum. The addendum is, we're going to call this ordinance M1. So ordinance M1, which is the introduction for adopting the redevelopment plan. This one. If there is a second, second by the deputy mayor. Any council discussion on this? There's none. Any public comment on this one? Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yes.
Ordinance M1 will be numbered 2025-17 and is passed by a vote of 5-0 and it will be published according to law.
So L7 was in our packet is L7, a contract with DC Utility Services and Turner Brothers. And we'd like to meeting with this resolution.
as amended with correction.
Yeah, so moved.
Motion's made by Councilman Holland, seconded by Councilman Roman. It's time open for public comment on it. Would anybody like to talk about the insertion valve in the digester pump for the States water treatment plant? Okay. Seeing no public comment, any council discussion?
I think it's important to invest in our critical infrastructure.
I would agree, especially the digester pump room. Insert valve. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo.
Yeah. Sure. Sorry, Councilman Rowe.
I would, for the purposes of serving the planning board through the rest of the year, I would like to nominate, move to nominate Deputy Mayor McAvoy to fill the remainder of my expired term through the end of December 31st.
I'll second that. Deputy Mayor, is that something you're willing to do?
Sure.
You could no longer be a second, correct? With this, it would be an alternate, but I plan to be an alternate. The only plan board meeting I missed is
Yes, I would be happy to serve. As I do last week.
yes, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
No.
All right. 3 ayes. ayes, 1 abstention, 1 no. And we are moving to public comment. We'll open one last line for public comment on any item anybody wishes to discuss. Okay, seeing none. Executive session.
I don't have anything for executive.
Okay, no executive session. So one of these few times we get to adjourn right here. Who would like to make that motion to adjourn?
Silver.
Councilwoman McGrath has it. The second is by Councilwoman Collins. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. See you in 2 weeks.